in New York has in its possession thousands of pages related to the Epstein investigation indictment, and they weren't turned over. The existence of those files were never even disclosed. The Attorney General has demanded those files be delivered to her desk by 8 a.m. tomorrow. There's a high noon deadline, or actually before high noon, 8 a.m. She instructed FBI Director Patel to investigate why the FBI failed to comply with her orders. So we'll see where that all leads soon. We'll have much more on that for you at Just the News. And of course, throughout the show today, we're going to be talking to people. Also, an exclusive you can check out at justthenews.com. I wrote about last night, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials were being warned to take extra special security precautions because of fellow U.S. workers, USAID workers who had been fired. Custom and Border Patrol agents were told, Border Protectors were told to keep situational awareness, maybe even cover up the uniforms, because as those USAID fired workers came back to gather their belongings at the end of this week, there was the potential for protests or unrest in the office. We've been watching that and we're keeping a close eye on that. That came from the Operations Watch Alert System for Customs and Border Protection employees. Well, keeping an eye on that. Today was a pretty light day, no sign of tensions, but we're watching closely just in case. All right. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, well, it just keeps on going. We're going to talk about that in the second block with Senator Ron Johnson, who has a lot of alignment with what Elon Musk is doing. But before we do all that, I want to turn over to my amazing co-host, Amanda Head. You've got some other headlines you're watching, right?
Indeed, I do, yes. I was there today at the meeting between the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Trump, and it seemed to be quite cordial, despite the two being on pretty opposite ends of the political spectrum, with a number of things being discussed, including trade between the two countries, as well as the war in Ukraine and securing a lasting peace between Ukraine and Russia. And in their press conference, Starmer even complimented President Trump for creating the opportunity for peace after the Biden administration famously refused to negotiate with Russia. It's kind of part of the deal. You have to do that. So take a look at what he said.
Mr. President, I welcome your deep and personal commitment to bring peace and to stop the killing. You've created a moment of tremendous opportunity to reach a historic peace deal, a deal that I think would be celebrated in Ukraine and around the world. That is the prize.
Really, really warm reception there.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister also gave President Trump, hand-delivered him, an invitation for a state visit from King Charles, and that was a great moment in their meeting. Here it is.
And it is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do.
I will do.
I've got to tell him what your reaction is, so I need to know.
He is a great gentleman.
It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. And I think that just symbolises the strength of the relationship between us.
Not every day you get a second invitation for a state visit pulled from the lapel pocket of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And Starmer even discussed the fact that Europe as a whole is not contributing their fair share when it comes to defense spending, and conceded to President Trump that if his country and others upped their spending on their militaries, that would be beneficial, of course, to everyone. And perhaps this moment from the meeting helped him along.
Whenever necessary, we absolutely backed each other up, and that's at the core.
Could you take on Russia by yourselves?
Well,
A very blunt question that brought reality tumbling down.
You know what's amazing about these exchanges is how far Europe has moved towards Donald Trump. The resistance in Europe has melted, because they always do. Donald Trump had the right approach, and I think they're realizing it now, and he said so today. And I think that was an extraordinary moment. All right, we've been promised a lot of transparency in the Trump administration. We're getting it with Doge already. Some of those deep state agencies, well, they're still putting their foot out, tripping things up. Ron Johnson having a hard time getting vaccine safety data. The FBI having a hard time getting the Epstein files together, as Pam Bondi reminded us. But I think we have a good idea of what we might eventually get in the near future, because I don't think the Trump people are going to stop until they get it all out. Joining us right now, one of the greatest investigative journalists I've ever worked with. He's the director of research at the Government Accountability Institute. He's an author of that great book, Control Oligarchs. He's my good friend, Seamus Brenner. Seamus, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Hey, John, Amanda, it's so good to see you.
All right. I think everybody thought, hey, we're getting the Epstein client list. And what they got today was like a really bad version of the phone book. obviously some behind-the-scenes maneuvering. The Trump administration couldn't get what it wanted from the bureaucracy. It's just going to have to dig a second time. But I think you have some good idea of what ultimately will be in these documents. Tell us what you think the FBI might be withholding that we one day will get.
Yeah, it was kind of a swing and a miss today, and there's been so many wins lately that I guess we're due for one underwhelming announcement. But we have not seen anything in these documents that we haven't seen before. It's certainly no so-called client list. What we need to see is the people who were so-called clients, and really, I mean, documents are going to be great. I'm looking forward to, some 2,000 pages, apparently, that Pam Bondi is going to get from the FBI. At least we hope so. We hope it hasn't been deleted. There's a whistleblower who says that documents are being deleted. We haven't confirmed that. But really what we need is arrests. There's no statute of limitations on some of these crimes, like human trafficking and crimes against children. There's no statute of limitations. So what we need are arrests. Alina Habba has said that there will be arrests, or at least there should be. And so that's the next announcement I want to hear. I don't want to read any more, flight logs. Flight logs are not evidence of anything. I mean, people fly on Jeffrey Epstein's flight. It's not the best move, but some of these people didn't know what he was up to. So it's not a sign of guilt that someone flew on his plane, and it's not a sign of guilt that they were in his black book or in his contact list. And so more details about people who are in contact lists or on the flight logs, that's old news. We've been through it many, many times. I'm not the only person who's read all of these documents. We need to know evidence of guilt, and there need to be arrests.
Do you think we'll ever know it all? Do you think we'll ever find out exactly who was on the list, who maybe even was above Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, that's still a huge question for a lot of people, is who was directing Jeffrey Epstein? Do you think we'll ever get it all? Well, there's a lot of, incidents throughout our history where we still don't know it all. The JFK files, I understand that the Trump administration wants to release JFK files. There's other incidents where we don't have all the facts. So I don't know, Amanda, if we'll have it in this century or maybe next. I hope so. We need to. We need to know who was above Jeffrey Epstein, who was directing this operation. Here's the thing I really wonder is, back when all of this stuff broke years and years ago, there were reports, I believe it was the New York Post and the Miami Herald has done some really good work on this. The FBI apparently seized vaults of tapes. There were people on tape. None of us want to see what's on those tapes, but what happened to those tapes? Who has those tapes? Is our intelligence community keeping those because they want to maintain the leverage that having powerful people on tape doing horrible things provides? There's a lot we need to know, and so I do have hope that in phase one here that there will be phase 2 and 3 and 4 and many more to come, and we will get at least much closer to the full picture. But right now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence until we get some more.
Multiple members of Congress have come on this show, Seamus, saying that they want to know the answer. Yeah. Was Jeffrey Epstein or his evidence used to blackmail people in any form, in any under the government's color or in concert with the government? That's a really important question. When members of Congress say it openly now, you realize that they know there's something there that they want to get an answer to. Another thing we don't know everything about, seems hard to believe after all the work you and I and everyone else has done, is we still don't know all the tactics that the FBI and the intelligence community used to spy on President Trump's campaign during the so-called Russia collusion caper, which turned out to be no collusion, and the only caper was the misdeeds of the intelligence community. But the documents President Trump declassified January 20th, 2021 never got released. A month into this presidency, they're still not released. How important is it that we find out all the things that the FBI may have done to surveil our president?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, honeypot is the word of the day. James Comey is allegedly, we've not confirmed this yet, but running a honeypot operation on the Trump 2016 campaign. And so who that was targeting, I don't know that it was President Trump himself, maybe just members of the campaign. But it's unsettling. I guess it's a feature of running an intelligence agency like the FBI or CIA to try to entrap people. You just would hope it would be the country's enemies, not are candidates for president like Donald Trump. And so we hope to get more information on that. I mean, that was a really shocker. I'm thin on details as far as whether Comey's FBI was running honeypot operations, but they were up to so many dirty tricks, John, as you know so well, and I know, so many dirty tricks going on in 2016, even in 2020, that I wouldn't put anything past James Comey and his crew.
There's a heavily redacted passage from the fourth FISA warrant, the final FISA warrant, that I think could be one of the most important eliminations of a redaction in American history. We're fighting to get it. Hopefully we'll get it there. But we need to know all the tactics that were used to spy on a president and his campaign. I hope we get there soon. I want to turn to one other subject, the way that we're digging in more and more to Doge. We're starting to get a good sense of how the government works. Why could one businessman do what 25 years of Congress could never do, which is unveil where our money was really going?
Yeah, that's the biggest question I have, is why did it take so long to reveal all of this stuff? It really does feel at times that many, at least in the Republican Party, are controlled opposition, while it, like at the border, for example, all it took, Trump is making it look so easy to stop these, waves and waves of migrants. Why did it take so long? Why has it taken decades? Conservatives have been fighting for reducing the size of government for decades, and yet all of a sudden, one businessman, Elon Musk, with Doge and Donald Trump's blessing, has been able to do what Republicans haven't been able to do in a generation or two. So this is really encouraging stuff, but it makes you wonder, all of the Republican excuses about, we need to, it takes time, or it's difficult to do. It doesn't seem like it's actually all that difficult. You just need the political will.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And a bunch of 20-something that Elon Musk had the will and the capability to do it quickly. We know one thing: you have the will and the capability to do some of the greatest investigative journalists this country's ever seen. You and Peter and the great gang at GAI, we're so lucky to have you. Seamus, thanks for joining us today.
John, Amanda, thanks.
All right, folks, go get his book, Control Oligarchs. It's one of the best reads of the last 5 or 6 years, one of my favorite books. All right, coming up after the break, I had a chance to sit down with Senator Ron Johnson earlier today. You're going to want to take a listen. He has a lot to say, including some news about some new vaccine data. We'll have that right after the commercial break. Welcome back, America. Amanda she stepped out for a second, did a little bit of White House reporting. She'll rejoin us in the next block, but we've got a big surprise for you. If you've been watching Elon Musk, he is going agency by agency, line by line, budget by budget, sometimes even using artificial intelligence to get to the bottom of what federal bureaucrats have been spending over the last couple of decades. Now, if that approach sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've been watching this show and you've heard our next guest say it, because the first person I ever heard suggest take that approach was the great senator from the state of Wisconsin, our good friend, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, good to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, John.
You're a CEO in an earlier life. Elon Musk, a CEO. It's kind of funny when a non-politician starts taking a look at the federal budget. You actually find things, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. And again, I could not give President Trump and Elon Musk more credit. This Doge effort is brilliant. It's so galling to listen to the media, to Democrats, howl and scream about, this is an unelected, unaccountable official. No, this is one of the more brilliant, accomplished, effective human beings ever to walk the planet, right? And the fact that he's, given up his time and effort to try and fix this mess. I wish every American could have been in the meeting with probably a couple dozen senators and Elon Musk earlier today. And, first of all, he starts out, the reason I'm doing this is we're $2 trillion in debt. And, this country is too precious. I mean, we can't allow this country to go bankrupt. So, I'm bringing my skill set to bear here with, I don't know how many dozen, 20-somethings, other brilliant people that I think are probably, I know his chief operating officer, Steve, I didn't catch his last name, said it's literally a 24/7 operation.
Amazing.
And they're going into these agencies, and they're using their agency personnel. They're not overstepping their bounds. I mean, they've made that very clear. They're staying within, exactly what they can do. They're not doing things they can't. And they're asking questions that, quite honestly, should have always been asked. Hey, how many credit cards does federal government employees have? And I don't want to quote the number, but it's an outrageous number. Yeah. It exceeds the number of federal employees there are. They go there, okay, how many software licenses do you have for the number of people in this department? Again, just basic questions that nobody's ever asked. They go in the Treasury Department, they realize, again, I don't have the exact number, but billions and billions and billions of dollars of expenditures. I don't know how many expenditures have absolutely no accounting code.
Yeah.
They don't. It's just going somewhere, and it's not associated with any appropriation. So they're just putting in some basic controls that any little business has to have, for example, when the IRS comes to audit you. Because the government requires business to have this information, this backup, this kind of, control, but government apparently doesn't need to have it. So again, what Elon is doing is, again, they're going by contract and contract. They're asking questions that have never been asked to these agencies. They have brilliant people, even getting these legacy computer systems and able to extract information. And he said their goal is to identify $4 billion per day of savings. They're ahead of that pace, by the way. If they do that, by September 30th, they will have identified $1 trillion of savings per year. Per year.
Amazing.
To me, that's exactly where we need to be. Yeah. I put together my thousands, line item budgets here, different baselines using Clinton from '99, Obama 2014, Trump from 2019. Inflate those numbers based on population growth, inflation. Use this year's Social Security, Medicare, and interest, and you end up with a baseline budget of somewhere between $5.5 and $6.5 trillion. If Elon Musk identifies $1 trillion worth of savings, we're down to about 6.3. A little higher than I'd like, but I'd accept it.
Getting closer,
not a problem.
Yeah.
But the trick here, though, is he doesn't have power to enact the legislation to realize those savings. We can suspend, they can stop payment on the contracts for a time, but then President Trump's going to have to fight for an impoundment power. That's going to be up to the courts. But the sure way of doing it is having Congress, having the Senate and the House use the reconciliation process on the mandatory spending side. We've got plenty to use. There's $1.3 trillion of other mandatory spending, not Social Security, not Medicare, not even Medicaid. There's $1.3 trillion that we can, through reconciliation, we can look at that and certainly utilize to realize those savings that Elon Musk is identifying.
So I want to go back and do some math, because last time I think we had you on, you had in your mind, and I think a very reasonable goal, $15 trillion of savings over 10 years. Elon Musk is already on track for $10 trillion. That would be pretty good. The two House and Senate bills are kind of like, what, about $2 trillion over 10 years? Or a pretty big gap from businessmen and politicians on where to cut.
No, the Senate bill, Lindsey Graham agreed to take a fourth option of mine, which was President Trump's budget projection for 2025, his last budget. Right. And that equates to $6.061 trillion. So that'd be about a $1.2 trillion per year savings. That's $12 trillion over 10 years. So no, the Senate budget is pretty aggressive. Now, again, a budget blueprint is a long way from passing legislation to actually accomplish the goal. Right. Unfortunately, the House budget at most contemplates going from 7.3 to 7.1. Yeah. So it maybe sounds like $2 trillion of savings over 10 years, $200 billion a year from 7.3 gives you 7.1. And again, I appreciate the difficult nature. I think, really respect Speaker Johnson, the House members that are trying to cobble together a majority with a very slim margin, but it's just not adequate. Yeah, it's amazing. But you're right, the Senate would actually get right into that territory where you were hunting originally, and that's a good sign. And that would really make a lasting difference. Do you think people are starting to realize when they hear the fact that just the debt service is $1 trillion a year now, but more than we spend on national defense, that people are starting to get worried about this mountain of debt? And does that add some extra pressure on lawmakers and politicians to go harder, deeper, and farther than they've ever contemplated? Well, what we have for the first time on the conservative side is you have Elon Musk's bullhorn. I've been preaching this since I got here, but the mainstream media just ignores it. They talk about something that'll undermine the conservative cause. So you finally have Elon Musk with his powerful communication platform highlighting all these areas so that Americans are paying attention. But is a majority, or are a majority of Americans paying attention? Are they outraged by this? We're not going to know until we actually start putting this into legislation and just see what kind of reaction the public has. But the public should be outraged at how their tax dollars and the money we're borrowing on their behalf, mortgaging their future with, how it is being wasted. Time and time again. Line item by line item. By the way, go to Doge.gov. It's a great website. It shows you contract by contract by contract exactly what this money was earmarked for, what has already been spent on these stupid contracts about DEI and all that kind of crap. So again, Doge is just doing phenomenal work. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's a disruption that's going to cause decades of benefit to this country when it gets completed. It's really something. You continue to fight relentlessly for transparency on issues we all need, vaccine safety. I know we're a month into the Trump presidency. I think you're still trying to get the archives to turn over those email aliases I sued over 2.5 years ago. Can you give us an up-to-date on what you and Senator Grassley are doing to get those records and why they're still important to the American public?
Well, I just met with the new director of the archives, somebody absolutely dedicated to, being transparent. So I'm very encouraged from that standpoint. Literally before I just got on this podcast with you, I got a call from Bobby Kennedy reassuring me that he's dedicated to radical transparency. It's been a little slow with the deep state within HHS. It's going to be difficult for all of these cabinet picks, and they're tremendous individuals, and they're all dedicated to radical transparency, but they're dealing with the bureaucracy that exists. And so there are so many roadblocks, and you know this, John. They can come up with 16 ways on Sunday to make an excuse saying, well, we can't turn over that piece of information. That's right. So that's going to take some time to break through. But again, Bobby Kennedy is unbelievably responsive. I told him I was not happy with the production based on our subpoena or the follow-up phone call. I mean, he texted me like within 30 seconds of me texting him. Wow. He's called me twice since then. I think he's actually shaking things up. We're apparently going to get some terabytes worth of information tomorrow. So
how about that?
It's well, we'll see again. Yeah. But again, I'm more than willing to give these new secretaries the time and certainly the respect. I know they're dedicated to doing this. But they're fighting the same bureaucracy I've been fighting for, and that you've been fighting for years.
Yeah, no, they're good at hiding, but I think their day is up. The spotlights might finally hit them. I think it's getting closer. Last question I want to ask you about, the tariffs are going to kick in soon, Canada, Mexico, China. That is going to be a major game change in the way the global economy works and also how America positions itself. What's your expectation, and are the American people willing to give the president some room here to implement this tariff policy so that it has some long-term benefit?
Well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I have to be honest, I'm concerned. Yeah. A manufacturing state like Wisconsin, agriculture, I mean, last time, dairy farming, we were hurt by the tariffs. So we have manufacturers that compete globally. Their competitors, they're not subject to the tariffs on things like steel and aluminum that are components to their products. So our manufacturers can't compete, they can't export them. Plus, the tariffs it's a form of a tax. Exactly who pays that tax is subject to dispute, but it certainly can bleed into prices. But President Trump is fully aware that he's got to get inflation under control. Yep. His economic team, they're first class. So, I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's well aware of the fact that I have some concerns, and I'll be making sure that his people are very attuned and are willing to listen to what the fallout may be from this. I mean, he admits there's going to be pain. Yep. Hopefully, his administration, he will do everything he can to alleviate that pain. Yeah, well, that's going to be watched and see. At least you're listening to your constituents, which is so important. Senator, always a great honor to have you on the show. We've always learned a lot, and it's so good to see the impact you've had in getting some radical transparency going. Good to have you on today. Have a great day. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we got a lot more ahead of us, including budget and government transparency with Congresswoman Mariannette Miller Meeks of Iowa. She's one of our favorites. She'll be on right after these messages.
Welcome back, everybody. I know that Doge seems to be in the news cycle a lot, and it hasn't really gone anywhere, and that's because there is just the sheer volume of waste, fraud, and abuse, I think, is staggering to the American people. And what has come out even in just this first month, I think, is going to move the needle in a direction that's very beneficial for the American people. And someone who is always fighting for the American people to know all of the spending that happens within our government, the overspending, which is pretty much all of it, Congresswoman from the great state of Iowa, Mariannette Miller Meeks. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Amanda and John. It's great to be with you.
Good to be with you. I
have one concern about everything that is coming out about Doge, And it is that at the end of this process, when the American people find out all of the shenanigans, all of the waste, fraud, and abuse, all of the ridiculous dollars sent overseas, that if that apparatus that allowed that to happen in the first place is still in place, then when Donald Trump leaves the Oval Office, they're just going to backfill with more ridiculous programs. How does Congress ensure that that can't happen again?
Well, I think that's great to be thinking ahead of that process. And we know that it's scaring a lot of people. So I had Senator Bernie Sanders in my district last Saturday attacking me. We had an Energy and Commerce hearing on Tuesday. All we were doing was voting for the rule to allow us to do oversight. That hearing went 13 hours because of Democrat amendments, many of them attacking Elon Musk and Doge. And so we know it's, the process by which they're doing this to get access to, the line items in Treasury is different than what we can do as Congress people. And so it has uncovered where some spending has gone, where it was not supposed to go, or that none of us would want. So I think we have to, number one, be very, Congress has to do its job and be very literal and very detailed and put a preamble on where we expect spending to go, what our intent is, and what it should be doing. So we need to be better at that. The Chevron doctrine, as you know, that was ruled on by the Supreme Court last year, that is going to help us. And so knowing that, the agencies and people within agencies aren't necessarily experts, and they should not be deferred to make up rules which have the effect of laws, that's going to help us too. So we've got those tools in our toolbox and we need to utilize those. So those are new things. And then I think what's very important, and I learned this when I was director of the Department of Public Health, people don't look at the heads of agencies, either in state government or in the federal government, and then all the people within the bureaucracy. And you know what? Those people are critically important. You need to put talented, knowledgeable people in, good secretaries, good directors in state government, and then they need to watch what rulemaking comes out of their departments. So it is very important. And you need to fill those slots in the bureaucracy so you have people that are looking to do your policies, your agenda. We need people within government agencies that want to help President Trump and us put forward an America First agenda. You cannot leave those slots empty. You fill them with your people, with your supporters, and then maybe some people leave the government of their own accord.
Ronald Reagan's team used to be fond of saying personnel is policy, and I think that's exactly the point you just made. Great point. You and Senator Joni Ernst, two great Iowans, working together an important piece of legislation demanding disclosure of delayed and over-budget government projects. I suspect this is going to be a really big list. Well, how about you?
Well, I think it is. And so, as you all know, our governor, our great governor, Kim Reynolds, was doing Doge before Doge became a thing, making government both more efficient and more effective. How do we deliver services more effectively, but with less dollars and with less waste, fraud, and abuse? Senator Ernst came in to the Senate wanting to cut government spending. And so this bill is part and parcel. We introduced it last year. We got it through the House. We could not get it through the Senate, the Democrat-controlled Senate. No surprise there. And so, now we have an opportunity to do what we wanted to do last year. I think it is a great bill. It allows us to conduct the oversight that, Amanda mentioned. We have to make sure these things stay in place. Once, Doge, if it's dismantled, or Elon Musk goes back to doing the inventive, creative, entrepreneurial stuff that he does, we need to make sure that there are processes and policies and laws in place that allows us to conduct oversight and get information that, having to file a Freedom of Information Act request. And as you know, and talked about with Senator Johnson, you can file, you can ask. I mean, I've had a letter come back 9 months after I made an inquiry to a government agency. We actually had the hearing the day, and I said, are you going to respond to my letter that I sent 9 months ago? So I think this is a very important way that we can continue to monitor, have law and legislation in place to make sure we're conducting oversight and we're getting information that we request.
Yeah.
Congresswoman, before we let you go, the American people are obviously on board with spending less, cutting more, getting out the waste, fraud, and abuse. The American people obviously support that. However, if the American people don't actually feel the effects of what's happening right now, then I don't know how much they will support it in the future. When it comes to the framework, the budget resolution that was passed a few days ago, I know that's just a blueprint for what can be cut and what needs to be spent going forward. Did it go far enough for you?
It went far enough. I think we have a House that would like more cuts. We have a Senate that might be a little more tempered. But remember, everybody has a different district. So I have had protests in my district. I've had TV attack ads in January. And now, as I mentioned, I had Bernie Sanders in my district on Saturday. I have the AFL-CIO in my district today protesting me. The Democrats have been driving people there, and we found out, I think there is some information that George Soros and some other individuals are helping to pay people and generate these protests. We had protests at my office in Davenport on Tuesday and the week before. And so there is a lot of activity, a lot of attacks. And then there's also people that are genuinely concerned about the pace of things that are happening. So I think with the cabinet secretaries in place now, they're going to work to help find where government employees aren't doing, or they're not needed, or they're retiring and they don't have to have a position filled. So I think with the cabinet secretaries, along with Doge, working with the Congress and keeping us abreast of things so we know, what's coming at us, I think those things are going to be very helpful. But to your point, if we don't get the border closed and we don't get prices down and a growing economy, people's support may wane. Iowa suffered with the tariffs last time with our ag economy. So they have some concerns. We've heard about it. It's not massive. They're trusting the process right now. So as I said on my telephone town hall, breathe, stay calm. Watchful waiting, and don't believe everything you read on the internet, or especially from a Democrat blog.
Amen. Congresswoman Marionette Miller-Meeks from the great state of Iowa. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side.
Hey folks, did you know that American homeowners have over $32 trillion in equity? That's an amazing figure, but you know the bad news? Criminals are targeting it with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. Scammers can transfer your title right out of your name using a one-page document they file at the county. Then they can take out loans against your equity, even sell it behind your back. And the scariest part, you won't find out about it until collection or foreclosure notices start arriving in your mailbox. Now that is something you don't want to have happen, leaving you, of course, when that happens, in a financial and legal nightmare. The best way to protect your equity is with Home Title Lock's exclusive $1 million triple lock protection. This service offers 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should occur, the U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title. So when was the last time you checked on your title? If you're like me, the answer is never. And that's exactly why scammers are counting on you to fail. The good news is for 2025, Home Title Lock is offering you 25% off. And you also get a free title history report when you go to HometitleLock.com and use my promo code JTN25. Now make sure you check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. One more time, go to HometitleLock.com, use the promo code JTN25.
Welcome back, everybody, to Just the News, No Noise. President Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge are off to a good start in identifying fraud, waste, and abuse in our government. But Congress has to play its part, too. And there's actually one move from the past that we can look to, surprisingly made under President Obama, that could help the government rein in the wasteful spending. And with us to explain just what that move is, the CEO of Open the Books, a government watchdog tracking wasteful spending, John Hart. John, great to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know, I see what Doge is doing, and it's really wonderful for the American people to have transparency in this type of thing. But I gotta say, Open the Books, you guys have been doing this since before it was cool.
We have. Well, thankfully, Senator Coburn worked with then Senator Obama on a bill called the Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act, and that put all federal spending online and created USA Spending. And so much of what you see right now in real time, criticizing grants, asking hard questions, that ecosystem was enabled by legislation that Senator Coburn wrote and put into law. And Doge is taking that and really, and that's really the basis of support that they have among the electorate. And I have this metaphor that, transparency cuts through government like water cuts through stone. When it finds cracks, it can wipe away mighty walls of opposition. So as that flow of information keeps going through your outlet, through others, through our organization, and a whole ecosystem of groups, it's going to put a lot of pressure on policymakers to make durable, lasting cuts. And that's really what people want to see happen. President Trump was elected with a mandate to make people's lives easier in the day-to-day. It's not an abstraction. People want to pay less for groceries. They want lower inflation. And one of the most important ways to do that, besides cutting taxes, is to cut spending and to reduce the pressure that people feel in their daily lives through overspending in Washington.
Yeah, such a great point. John, you have done over the course of your career a lot of work to show that it isn't just the spending that adds a burden on the American people, it also the regulatory state, adding regulations that further add burden to the American people. The REINS Act got slipped into this budget blueprint. It's a pretty significant opportunity. How important is it for the Senate to include that in the final conference report?
Yeah, John, that's immensely important. I think, one of the problems we have when we talk about these numbers is people think of it as a fixed pie, but the pie is not fixed. You want the pie to grow. And one of the ways to deal with our deficit problem, and when we're spending more on interest on the debt than we are on defense. I mean, that's a national security threat. So you have to grow the economy and shrink the waste as a proportion of what the economy is. And deregulation is the key way to do that. And, one of the pieces I just wrote is on earmarks and how we got, during the earmark ban era from 2011 to 2021, that saved about $141 billion, otherwise money that would have been spent. And it led to the first real year-to-year decreases in spending since the end of the Korean War. But it also focused Congress's attention on all of the other things that they need to do to get all the regulation off of people's backs so that the economy can grow. So I would love to see Doge, bring the earmark ban back, push for that, and also look at things like regulation within EPA, where there's the National Environmental Policy Act hasn't been updated in 50 years. There's all kinds of great energy projects that have been blocked, often by environmental groups, by the way, that would unleash energy abundance and lower prices, get the economy going. And you've got to do both. You've got to deal with the spending side, but also get rid of regulations that are choking economic growth and innovation and creativity.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah. John, the Democrat Party looks very different from even just Barack Obama. But the fact that Barack Obama was on board with at least a moratorium on earmarks tells me that maybe there could be some Democrat support, some bipartisan support for that on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, that's a great point. And one of the things that was not getting enough attention right now is, as John remembers well, when he was covering us through the Tea Party era, is today there's been a major political realignment. So one of the reasons why we didn't cut as much as we wanted to 15 years ago, and going farther back during the Reagan years, the Grace Commission found that 1 out of every 3 tax dollars was wasted. And of course, that didn't lead to big cuts. There were tremendous growth during the Reagan years. We won the Cold War, but we didn't cut spending. And the reason I'm optimistic now, and I think we could get Democrats, is the party of the working class is now the GOP. So those roles have flipped. So when Democrats would demagogue us 15 years ago for wanting to cut, social services cut programs, and they had the parade of horribles of how, reducing agency spending would lead to foodborne illnesses and so on and so forth. Who are they talking to now? They've lost the room. Are they talking to the faculty lounge at universities? Or are they talking to the green room at media shows? And so no one's really listening to their arguments. And so I think that gives, smart Democrats ought to look at that and realize there has been a realignment, and that they ought to get on the right side of the voters. And the sooner they do that, the sooner they're going to find their way out of the wilderness, which is what any smart political party would do.
I mean, if they don't find a way to realign, in the words of Mr. T, I pity the fool, because I don't know what the future for their party even looks like. John, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, go check out their organization, Open the Books. You will find out some astounding and frankly appalling things.
I didn't see that coming.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. Let's stay on Doge for a moment, because they have already seen some success at the federal level. But what about individual states implementing their own version of Doge? Is it a good idea? The man joining us now thinks that it certainly is, especially in Ohio. He is Ohio's Secretary of State, as well as candidate for Ohio Auditor of State. Frank LaRose, our great friend. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Yeah, Amanda, it's about transparency, efficiency, and accountability, things that we always need more of in government. One of the things that we have here in Ohio is that our state auditor has the power to perform a process audit, to come in and look at how local and state agencies are operating. Are they overstaffed? Are they using bad old technology or just antiquated processes? And that's exactly what I plan to do as the auditor of state. I'm calling it O-Doge. We're trying to bring some government efficiency to the Buckeye State.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting thing. I'm sure all the ills that we see in federal government, there'll be some found. Although Ohio's a pretty efficient state, but I think you're going to find some great things. Another place where you've been very efficient is in the courts, sir. You have championed election integrity, and I think a lot of people look at Ohio and say it's one of the gold standard states for how you do election integrity. But the left keeps suing you, and I don't think you're getting tired of winning. I think you're like 8 or 9-0, aren't you?
I'll tell you what, we've been going up against the likes of Mark Elias and the ACLU, and we've been winning because we don't settle these lawsuits. We fight these lawsuits. When they come and try to sue your state or my state, when they're suing their chief elections officer, they're trying to make election law at the courthouse. That's not where it should be made. Election law should be made at the state house. They literally sued me last year saying that we should accept a driver's license that says non-citizen on it. Of course, we went and fought and won that one. And then the Biden administration was attempting to weaponize the federal government to use it to do voter registration and turnout to benefit the Democrats. I joined in a lawsuit with the America First Policy Institute to sue the Biden administration. Of course, thankfully, because of President Trump's executive order undoing all of that nonsense from Biden, that lawsuit now can be declared a victory. In fact, it was declared moot just recently by the court. And so put another one in the win column.
I love it. Another check. Sir, Ohio has done such a tremendous job with cleaning up elections under your tenure as Secretary of State. And I know that states are their own administrators of their elections, but on the federal level, there are security measures that can be implemented. We've seen a number of pieces of proposed legislation on the Republican side. What can Capitol Hill learn from Ohio about it?
Yeah, I was talking with the House Admin Committee about this not too long ago. I'm hopeful that they will pass the SAVE Act to give us better tools to identify non-citizens on the voter rolls and remove them. We're already doing a good job of that in Ohio, but we need more. And I think that there are some best practices that can be incentivized as well. I'm also looking forward to working with Secretary Noem at the Department of Homeland Security to improve this thing called the SAVE database. It is this antiquated old database that we have to use right now to look up who's a citizen and who's not. And I know that her team is going to want to work with us to improve that so that chief elections officers in every state can do a better job of preventing non-citizens from voting.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I want to turn to another topic I know is close to your heart. You're a former Green Beret. You served this country bravely. President Trump is really rebuilding the military with Pete Hegseth as his lead man on the job. Your early thoughts of just some of the early policy decisions and getting back that warfighting machine to its best fitness?
Well, as you know, I'm a reservist still in the Army, so I'm not going to speak in that capacity. But as a citizen and as an office holder, I do talk to a lot of my friends that are serving on active duty, and they're excited. They signed up to serve in the armed forces because they want to defend our American way of life. They want to contribute to protecting our nation, and they were dismayed by the nonsense that had been going on over the last few years, where the left was trying to turn our Defense Department into some kind of a social experiment. Our job is to meet the enemies of our country and to defeat them on the field of battle. And that's exactly what President Trump is tuning up the Defense Department to be refocused on. That's what Secretary Hegseth is focusing on as well. We're the most lethal fighting force on the planet. We don't need to be spending our time on DEI nonsense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good point.
I think you're already starting to see a shift, at least in recruitment after the election. Before President Trump was even in office, it already started seeing an uptick. Sir, I want to ask you about someone who has tossed their hat in the ring for governor in the state of Ohio. You guys have done such a great job with election integrity, and now you are no longer a purple state, you're a red state, and Vivek is running there. What do you think?
Well, I've been out on the road with my friend Vivek Ramaswamy the last couple of days. I was kind of the warm-up act out on the road as he was making his announcement tour. I'm proud to announce that he's endorsed me for Auditor of State, and of course, I'm supporting him. Listen, I learned this in the military. There are leaders you follow because you have to. They've got more rank than you do. And then there are those leaders, and this is rare, who you follow because you want to. You would run through a wall for these people because they've got a vision, they've got the courage to actually see it through. Vivek Ramaswamy is that kind of leader. He is going to turn Ohio into a state of excellence, and I look forward to being by his side as we do that.
And you're getting a lot of endorsements, too. A pretty prominent guy in Congress put his name behind you, Jim Jordan. That's a big one. The Ohio ticket looks pretty solidified this early, a year and a half into the next election. That's a pretty good party unity. What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, I tell you what, we've got some great talent in Ohio, and I'm just proud to be part of what is becoming a really strong statewide ticket. I think Vivek is going to be our clear nominee for governor. He's got President Trump's support, and we've got great people falling into the roles of Attorney General and my replacement as Secretary of State. We've got term limits in Ohio, and it's a good thing for us to be unified. Listen, you don't need to be a ballistics expert to know that everyone gets wounded in a circular firing squad. So hopefully we can have some unity in the conservative side of the Republican Party, and we can go forward and fight and win these races in 2026.
Yes,
Pretty
sir. Very quickly before we let you go, we are seeing lots of protests here on the federal level when it comes to Doge. If you do Doge in Ohio, do you think you're going to have a lot of protests there as well?
if I don't, I'm not doing my job well. Listen, in order to make some omelets, you got to break some eggs. And there are going to be people that are upset about it. There are going to be folks that think that they have some sort of a right to a job in the state or federal government that they don't even have to show up to, and where they can't even tell you what 5 things they've accomplished this week. Well, I tell you what, we don't run it that way at the Secretary of State's office. We need to get local and all other entities of state government to operate with the same kind of efficiency.
Absolutely.
The Doge omelet. I'm ordering one of those. I'm all in.
Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, thank you so much for being here, sir. I can't for the life of me understand why people are so mad about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. You would think that they would be happy, that maybe they would be saving some money. But anyway, maybe they're getting some on the side. All right, that's all we have for tonight. Grant Stinchfield is going to take you through the next hour. See you tomorrow.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. So President Trump is holding true to his promise, cutting the size of government at a record pace. What I would like to tell you about now is cutting the Internal Revenue Service. I say do away with it altogether. We could get there with a fair tax. That's a national sales tax at 23%. I think now is the time to actually push a fair tax. I should do a whole show on it. I'm not going to focus on that now. What I am going to focus on is promises made, promises kept. Over 100 IRS offices will be shuttered across the country. This is a tyrannical agency. When you think the IRS is the only agency, you are guilty until you prove your innocence. They say you owe the IRS money. They can seize your cash. You got to prove you don't owe the money. That's not how America should be working. Take a listen to this. This is an IRS agent who claims she was fired.
I'm an IRS agent about to get fired, so I'm letting everybody's debt go. I'm going to be sending everybody checks. I'm currently writing the code to do this right now. I'm going to have a couple of my developer friends review it shortly, and then we'll probably be deploying it soon. But this person is just basically like, why are you doing this now and not earlier? Because I'm getting laid off. Why would I do it if I had a job? That doesn't make any sense.
No, that's why you deserve to be laid off. I don't want people to get any money they don't deserve. I don't want people to pay money that they're not supposed to be paying under the law. I've got a monster refund from a business deal that I'm due from 2022. I've been waiting 10 months for that refund. Nothing. I don't expect it anytime soon either. But that's why she needs to be fired. You don't just do that on a whim. We should be operating as business as usual. They don't in there. These agents, man, I'll tell you what, it makes me very, very angry. So this is another IRS agent clearly about to explode.
Just got laid off from my federal government job. I don't know. Feeling angry, very angry, frustrated. It sucks. I worked in the IRS, small business, self-employed. And now there's going to be a lot of people on unemployment. Great.
All right, so somebody was angry about President Trump. I think that was the wrong soundbite. Let's run the next one, cut 13, calling Trump supporters. That was calling Trump supporters jerks. Anyway, I didn't hear it there. Never mind. We'll move on. Here's the reality as we move on here. It is imperative that President Trump, the Senate, the House come together to get President Trump's budget passed. I don't think we should call it a budget anymore. I think we should call it the Doge Act. These tax cuts need to be solidified into permanency. President Trump's legislative agenda needs to be codified in this new budget bill, which is why, as Senator Mark Wayne Mullin says, the Doge Act sounds like a better name for this budget bill.
By the way, because some people are calling it budget, some people are calling it reconciliation, why don't we just call it the Doge Act? Because really this is about President Trump's agenda, about pushing forth his agenda, making the cuts, getting us healthy, making sure our defense is strong, making sure our economy is strong.
All right, so the reality is we need to take these executive orders that President Trump is making, and we need to solidify them in law as a tribute to President Trump's agenda. The United States Senate can do this. I know the House is willing. The Senate is where we get these rhinos. It's going to be up to us to put the pressure on them to make sure that this happens. Now, one of the things that I think needs to be codified into law is that we should never, ever be sending American tax dollars to fund terrorist organizations. This may be the most eye-popping, insane witness testimony I've ever seen, because it's a matter of life and death and American taxpayer money going to the killing of Americans. Our buddy Tim Burchett drew this out of the witnesses. Listen.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
The Hamzi network? Al-Shabaab? Hamas? Hezbollah? United States tax dollars. Of course, where do you think they're getting funded through? USAID. Thank God they're putting the screws to that corrupt agency, which was literally designed to destroy the world. The system is broken, and I'm convinced liberals set it up this way to ruin freedom across not just America, but across the globe. They continued with testimony.
As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas-controlled areas. And this is ridiculous. Essentially, what the U.S. assistance to Gaza did was underwrite the ability for Hamas to survive until the ceasefire was just passed a few weeks ago. There was no strategic thought for it, and there was no screening.
Seems like the emergency might have been armed terrorists to kill civilians. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate.
Unbelievable. To think you've got Americans inside USAID funding a giant money laundering scheme to filter money down to terrorist organizations that are literally wreaking havoc on us and our allies. So USAID, I believe, needs to be legislatively closed down for good. President Trump can do everything he can, but I think Congress needs to act on this and say no more. It has become a lone wolf agency. Do you know apparently USAID hired its own outside lobbyists to go to Congress and lobby for money? Listen.
There's actually someone who used to work for one of those lobbies, the largest NGO lobby, Interaction. One of our co-witnesses here worked for them from 2018 to 2023. USAID effectively self-funds its own external private lobby that then goes back to Congress and asks for more money for USAID.
So the taxpayers fund this lobbyist who's working against American interests.
Correct.
Possibly killing our allies and possibly Americans.
They bring together groups in Washington that oversees work with groups that kill Americans.
Is that not jaw-dropping? And the mainstream media is not covering this interaction. They don't want to talk about it. This is the height of, I'm not even going to say corruption, it's treasonous behavior. You're getting Americans killed. People need to pay for this. I'm sorry, they really, really do. So Marjorie Taylor Greene got to the heart of what USAID is all about. Quite frankly, it's about destroying American values and any chance of those values spreading across the globe.
What was USAID doing during the Biden administration?
Let me cite the Holy Father, Pope Francis, who accused USAID and other donors of promoting ideological colonization, pushing a radical ideology onto the developing world that is anti-family and anti-life.
That's not a very good ideology in my mind. This is why this organization needs to be gone and gone for good. Well, one of the men who helped expose USAID really is at the forefront of all of this, is the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online. Our good friend Mike Benz is back. Mike, it is good to see you. Since the last time you were on, you've been on a whirlwind tour, my friend.
Well, it's an exciting time. Obviously, the Supreme Court decision yesterday that now allows the blocking of funds is a major win for Elon, for the president, and for all the American people to finally begin the process of putting a stop to the madness.
All right. You listen to the testimony that I just played there. Literally, USAID funding terror groups that are actively and openly wanting to kill Americans and do.
Well, they've been doing this for decades. This is why I always say that when it's too dirty for the CIA, you give it to USAID. See, the CIA, when they do covert action, when they work with terrorist groups or violent paramilitary groups, and they need to get what's called a presidential finding, a formal approval by the President of the United States for every covert action they initiate. USAID, as an independent agency and not being formally, technically an intelligence equity, is able to do that unilaterally, which means that they are able to engage in covert operations simply by calling them discrete democracy promotion activities. And so they can do everything that the CIA gets to do, except without having to tell the president about it. This has basically made it a gold mine, a criminal's haven for all manner of CIA or U.S. Special Forces or State Department rogue networks. When they don't think the president will approve of something, to get it done logistically, they can run it through USAID. This is a great example of this is all the USAID money that went to the Syrian rebels and the al-Qaeda networks that are now currently in charge of the government of Syria. Donald Trump wanted to put an end to ISIS. We had a funny situation where the Obama administration was pouring USAID money into the ISIS and al-Qaeda groups in Syria. Donald Trump gets into office. He puts out the Twitter of the U.S. Embassy in Syria puts a $10 million bounty on the head of a man named Mohammed al-Jalani, saying that his HTS al-Qaeda spinoff was a terrorist group, and $10 million for anyone who brings him into the U.S. Well, that name sounds familiar. It's because he's currently the head of state in Syria. The Biden administration believed he was geopolitically useful as a battering ram against Bashar al-Assad. Hundreds of millions of dollars flowed from USAID directly into his networks. They overthrew the government of Bashar al-Assad, and he is now technically the closest thing they have to a head of state, head of government. So it went from a $10 million bounty on his head to the recognized head of state with the sanctions removed. And They wouldn't have been able to do that if through the CIA, because the CIA would have had to have gotten a presidential finding to do the very thing that the State Department said they were doing the opposite of. So that leaves you with USAID as basically the main get out of all executive oversight free organ. I can go on and on for decades about that. But the fact is basically every major terrorist group has been funded through this process.
All right, so clearly the orchestrators of all this know the scheme. I don't even want to call it a loophole because I think it's a criminal enterprise is what they were doing, specifically on the American taxpayer. It's interesting because you mentioned one of the missions allegedly was to promote democracy. It seems everything you laid out is the exact opposite of that. And then I found out it looks like USAID engaged in election engineering in Brazil. Jair Bolsonaro was one of my favorite leaders. A lot of people call him the Trump of the tropics. He turned around Brazil. Listen to this testimony about the U.S. sinking his campaign. And by the way, Brazil did everything to Bolsonaro that the corrupt DOJ did to Trump here in America. Where do you think they were getting their cues from? USAID. Watch this.
Mr. Primarak, can you offer any insight into these allegations or at least comment on whether the U.S. should play a role in toppling democratic processes around the world?
I think what we saw was USAID weaponized by the Biden administration and by Samantha Power to attack any party that was conservative. It just didn't happen in Brazil. It also happened, for instance, in very pro-America, Poland and Hungary as well.
Mike Pence, how dare these Democrats crow about Russian election interference and all of this nonsense when they were orchestrating the same thing in other nations?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. James Woolsey, just in 2017, when he was speaking to, I believe it was Megyn Kelly on Fox, or one of the main anchors, when the Russiagate hysteria was at its apex, the former CIA director, James Woolsey, appeared on Fox News to rail against Russian interference. And the question came back to him, well, you know, the CIA has been accused of doing something similar. We don't do that anymore, right? And Woolsey sort of chuckles and he says, well, you know, we used to do this all the time in Italy and in Greece, but, you know, we don't do that sort of thing anymore. And then he pauses and he says, unless it's in the interest of democracy. Now, the catch here is that they've defined political populism to be a threat to democracy. That's why that word, democracy, 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 has been puppeteered into the heads. It's been mind parasited into the heads of the population in order to popularize the idea that populism is a threat to democracy. So therefore, you get to use the covert action powers of the Central Intelligence Agency, the statecraft powers of the U.S. State Department, and the financial money gun of USAID to overturn any election, to topple any regime that is deemed to be a Trump ally or deemed to be too sovereign or looking out for its own people a little bit too much, because populism is a threat to democratic institutions. That just means USAID grantees. And then because of that, you get to call basically their entire government illegitimate in the same way that we used to reserve that for communist states or for terrorist states. Now it's populist states. And the Trump administration has a long road to hoe, I should say, in reorienting all of U.S. statecraft in order to put an end to that corrupt practice.
Yeah. Well, we're on the road to making that happen, in large part thanks to you and your work, Mike Benz. I'm grateful for it. Every time I see you put something out there new, I'm just like, how did we get to this point as a nation? But I do believe we are turning things around. And I appreciate you coming on. As always, fascinating, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
Absolutely. You have to wonder, boy, how did we get to a point like this where you have Americans who want positions of power to represent all of you, but they'll do everything they can to stick it to you and the idea of freedom. That's not what America was built on. Times are changing. They're not changing quick enough, though. The FBI is withholding information from Pam Bondi about the Epstein files, though she did release Phase 1. This became a very controversial way to release Phase 1 of the Epstein files. She released it to some of my very good friends, the conservative influencers there. You see Rogan O'Hanley, DC Drano. They have Phase 1 of the Epstein files. This is Jack Posobiec, another good friend of this program and this network. He got a copy of it. Here's him talking about it.
So what happened today, we get these binders, and originally we weren't going to talk about the binders And right at showtime, we were going to take time to figure out what was going on, dig deeper. Some of these are contacts, some of these are flight logs. There's all sorts of things in here.
Well, I'll tell you what I believe should have happened. I wish every single one of those influencers would have gotten together and released all of it at once. There's a lot of backlash online from influencers who are unhappy that the Trump administration picked and chose winners here. Anna Paulina Luna is one of them. You know, she runs the committee that's overseeing all of this, and she wrote, I nor the task force were given or reviewed the Epstein documents being released today. A New York Post story just revealed that the documents will simply be Epstein's phone book. This is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment. This is influencers not happy about the way the White House released these documents. You guys got it. I think SOT won. Come on. SOT
They
won.
actually just released the Epstein files. They just put them all online, unredacted, and now we have all the information. Not what.
This is quite literally the definition of a limited hangout. This is not releasing the Epstein files. Phase one?
I just don't understand at this point why this stuff isn't released to the public without the gatekeepers. And
the Epstein Files Part 1 just dropped, and it's
All right, I can tell you why there's not a lot of information in Part 1. Because the FBI is stonewalling. This is a letter from Pam Bondi to the FBI. And I won't read all of it, but it basically is a letter to Kash Patel saying before you came into office, she requested a full and complete files. She got 200 pages of documents, which primarily consisted of flight logs, Epstein's lists, contacts, and names. She goes on to say she questioned all of this. Late yesterday, she learned from a source that there are thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation in the Southern District of New York FBI office. She was demanding Kash Patel make sure those documents are handed over to her. Why would they be hiding the documents from the Attorney General? Maybe we can get some answers from a former FBI special agent. His name is Kenneth Strange. Kenneth, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Grant. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure. This is the kind of thing that makes people sick to their stomach, that you have law enforcement that's holding back evidence from the Attorney General of the United States. She's got to fight for this stuff. What do you think's going on here, Kenneth?
Well, Grant, I think it's all very troubling, and I can understand her concern. She receives 200 pages, and yet the amount of paperwork coming from Ghislaine Maxwell's civil trial is 5-10 times more pages than what she received. And then on top of that, there are these rumors that we have FBI agents that are destroying and deleting files. So definitely troubling. There's something going on in that New York field office, and we ought to find out about it.
Are you surprised by all this? You worked at the FBI for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not. And, if you take a look at the history here, the relationship between the New York field office and the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York, it's possible that, it's been infected by some of the characters that came out of the U.S. Attorney's Office, like I think it's Preet Bharara, Andrew Weissman, people that were going after Trump weaponizing, the Department of Justice. So, no surprise. And, the New York office has had some problems from time to time. There have been some people that have been recently arrested. Charles McConigal, the counterintelligence fella over there in the New York field office. So Robert Hansen, the spy. So, occasionally we have people coming out of New York that are less than honorable.
Do you think that the ingredients of whatever is in these Epstein files, the ones that are being held back from Attorney General Pam Bondi, you think there's a lot of people? Are they going to be the blockbuster files that we expect? Do you have any insight into that?
I really don't. But it's kind of 50-50. It could be something sensational. that we really need to see, or, again, the flip side would be much ado about nothing. So I think we're going to have to wait to see how this all plays out.
What do you think happens now? Kash Patel is in. He's not happy about this. We've been told that there are FBI agents that we've even been told they could take some of the things they know and give them to foreign intelligence services, which I think would actually be treasonous in behavior. But what do you think happens now with Kash Patel at the helm and what goes down now inside the FBI over the next few months?
Yeah, right. So Kash is a very serious person, and I think he's going to lock down that office. He's going to make sure that nothing disappears. He'll bring in tech people to make sure nothing has gone out over the internet as well. So I think he's going to take care of it as quickly as possible. We just don't need, we need to have transparency here. Not a lot of questions, not a lot of mystery. And, you have to remember that the American public here is a little bit pessimistic. You had Attorney General Merrick Garland, Director Wray. These are people that were not very interested in releasing the files. And maybe that's because they were protecting some very, very powerful people, billionaires, Hollywood luminaries, royal family, people of that ilk.
In the end, there's a lot of people that believe that these files could expose a worldwide child sex trafficking ring that could possibly still be operating today. We know it's a huge problem across the globe, including here in America. I think we need these files sooner than later. I hope Pam Bondi and Kash Patel get to the bottom of this as well. First time on the program, Kenneth Strange, we appreciate it. Great job. You're invited back, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll see. I think what the White House was doing was literally trying to give a tip of the cap to some influencers who were very helpful to President Trump through the election. I don't fault the influencers who got this information, but I wish they would have released it all at once. I think that would have been a better play, and you wouldn't have risked any backlash at all. Let's just get the information out. In the end, I really don't care how it gets out. Just let's get it out. All right, what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold is a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text America to the number 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There is no obligation, only information. Text America to the number 989898 and do it today. All right, after over a year, an American hero who was killed in Ukraine is finally coming home. We have the full story, and it's a wild one. Their family, his family, may need your help. It's next. Welcome back, everyone. I had no idea that we had U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine, and I certainly had no idea that a Marine would be killed in Ukraine battling the Russians. I didn't know about this because the mainstream media didn't talk about it, and this was a veteran Marine, a man who went over to Ukraine because he thought it was the right thing to do, and he volunteered to fight the Russians. His name is Ethan Hertwig. This is his parents talking about him when he was listed as missing in action.
That was his heart. The last thing he told my dad, because he loved my dad was a Vietnam veteran Marine, was, "Grandpa, I am where I'm supposed to be."
December 10th, they got a call.
And being my son and my oldest, the worst feeling ever.
Well, for a long time, he was listed as missing in action. We now have the remains of his body, and they are coming home to the United States. It's a wild story how all this happened, and I want to bring in now a good friend of ours, former Green Beret, host of Speak the Truth podcast. Matt Tardio is back. Matt, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Grant. Appreciate it.
All right, Matt, I'll just tell everybody, you put out close to 20 grand to get this young man's body back here for his family, funeral expenses. You laid this out. Why don't you tell me what you found out of how this all went down? I mean, it sounded to me like he was fighting a pretty fierce battle, and then he goes missing in action. Lay it on me.
Yeah, so I found out about it on Tuesday, Grant. I got a phone call from a friend that told me that they had recovered his body and that he was going to be coming home. And, this friend calls me in the morning crying as I'm getting ready for work, and it sucks. It sucks to hear what his family's going through. They're out of pocket over there traveling around trying to make sure that they identify their child, that they're able to take him home. And all of this comes at a great expense to them. And they were left with an option of by Friday, if they didn't have the funds, that they were going to not be forced, but just because of the way the world works, to have the Ukrainian government cremate his body to take him home. And they absolutely wanted him to be buried. And what took place in that firefight is, it's just like a small portion of what he did over there. I just dropped a video talking about this. He was on the border before he even did that. He was on the border helping women and children cross the border into Poland when the war first kicked off to make sure they weren't getting abducted by human sex traffickers. Then he went in and he started training the Ukrainian military. Then, as he's doing that, he goes, you know what, this is just, I need to do more. And he went forward to the front line. And within, I think he had 11 days to go before he was scheduled to go home. That was supposed to be his last mission. He ends up getting killed. But the way he gets killed is he leaves the cover of a bunker where he's fighting, and he goes out to get a wounded teammate that's on the ground to drag him out from under enemy fire. As he's dragging him back to the bunker, he ends up getting shot right above his plate. His friends then drag him back into the bunker. After they patch him up a little bit, as he's sitting there bleeding out, he starts taking care of his friends. And on top of all that, he ended up taking out 12 Russians that day before that happens. And then 98% of his unit that was out there, 98%, just talking to me yesterday, 98% of his unit ended up getting either killed or wounded that day. And that's how the Russians came to get his body. They got displaced. They had no option. The whole bunker was just blown apart with artillery.
For the most part, fighting like that reminds me of World War II. I mean, 98% of your unit going down. And, I think of battles in the South Pacific and storming the beaches of Normandy. And he's there. It's not even his country doing this. And then we can't get his body back. Does the United States government offer any help in trying to get him home?
Yeah, there's contacts over at the U.S. Embassy that we made sure his family was in contact with. Ukrainian government's been really good about, helping to take care of him, but ultimately it doesn't fall on the U.S. government. Ethan had he served about a year in the Marine Corps before he got honorably discharged because he had an issue within his blood that they were not aware of when he joined, and it kind of made him ineligible for service, made his life a little rough. So even with that going on, he still went over to do what he did. Now that doesn't afford him a lot of the same veterans benefits that a lot of people get that end up getting honorably discharged from the military. So we were having problems trying to get him into, veterans plots, trying to get him into a national cemetery, trying to get him into a lot of different places. And then we have this American hero that goes over there, literally helping women and children, training soldiers that are going to the front line who are understaffed and under-equipped, and then puts his dang neck on the line to save his friend and ends up dying because of it. And we can't do a dang thing to get this guy home.
Was it Ukraine that had his body, or was it Russia that had his body?
Russia had his body. So Russia had his body. And back in October, Russia and Ukraine had came to an agreement to do basically a swap of 500 each.
Wow.
And those bodies ended up touching ground in December. His family submitted DNA. The Ukrainian government asked them to submit DNA. So they submit the DNA, and it was a match for Ethan. So he's able to come home.
You know, I'm totally saddened by this story because I'm so grateful for a young man who gives his life or willing to give his life for the United States as a Marine, then goes over to Ukraine, fighting for what he thinks is good. I am a firm believer these are two corrupt nations. I don't want America anywhere near these two countries. And yet this guy, poor kid, dies in the middle of this battle, fighting valiantly. I want to help his family any way we can. You set up a PayPal donation link. How do people find you to help you cover the cost of the nearly 20 grand that it's costing to get him back?
So that's a great question. So yeah, we had an issue setting up a GoFundMe because everything got put down on my my charge card, and just kind of had faith the American people are going to do what they do best, and believe it or not, they did. And we can talk about that here in a second if you want. But all the extra money is going to end up going to his family. So anything, because they are massively in debt because of this. I mean, they couldn't even afford to bury their own dang kid. There's a link to it.
Where do they go? Yeah, real quick, Matt. Where is there a link on your Twitter profile? Is that the best way to find it?
Yes, sir. It's currently pinned up at the very top of my Twitter profile. So you go over there and you'll see the picture of Ethan. And you scroll down to the bottom, you click the link, and you can donate, send the money over, and we will make sure every dime goes to him.
Twitter handle again. Give me your Twitter handle again.
It's @AngerTab. ANGERTAB, like Ranger Tab, because one of my butthead friends cut the R off my Ranger Tab back in the day and threw it in my uniform. I didn't see it for like a week.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. @AngerTab. And Matt, you know, I'm so impressed with your investigative skills on all this stuff and everything you do for veterans out there. And I hope people help you. Stinchfield's Army, come through @AngerTab, find the link and help this family out. Matt Tardio, thank you as always. I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Again, @AngerTab on X. All right. Here we go, folks, again. The globalist climate freaks are retreating, and we have President Trump to thank for that. They are freaks. We'll talk about it next. tell you what, folks, President Trump has done more in 30 days to push back against the climate zealots than I think any president has done in 4 or 8 years in office. It's really pretty amazing to watch, and he's not done yet. So he's got Lee Zeldin as the EPA commissioner. This is what he says coming for the EPA.
I spoke with Lee Zeldin, and he thinks he's going to be cutting 65% or so of the people from environmental. And we're going to speed up the process, too, at the same time. You had a lot of people that weren't doing their job. They were just obstructionists, and a lot of people that didn't exist, I guess, Lee, too. We found a lot of empty spots, and the people weren't there. They didn't exist.
It's unbelievable, really. So he's going to cut 65% of the workforce of the EPA. Here's why I believe you can do it when it comes to Environmental Protection Agency. This is the role of the states. The states should be handling their own environment. Now, you have to have a little something to handle any disputes between neighbor states. Courts could do that too, by the way. But this is a state issue, not a federal one. I believe that. I want to bring in now Climate Depot publisher Mark Morano to the program. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Grant. Happy to be here. And yes, you nailed it. This is truly a state's issue with the EPA.
Is there any role at a federal level for an EPA-style agency?
I mean, the only argument you could really make is someone to coordinate some kind of environmental cleanup over multi-states. Kind of like, if there's a 3-state disaster area, you want someone to coordinate. But here's the bottom line. Here's why you could cut 65%, what Lee Zeldin is talking about. The EPA budget is nearing $10 billion annually, correct? And so what that means is this budget has continued to grow over the years, and the mission has expanded wildly beyond anyone's original conception. Now you have an East Palestine toxic plume that we had a couple years ago, and what does the Biden administration do? All they care about is climate change. I've interviewed professors from universities who say climate change has hijacked the environmental issues. Real environmental issues get thrown to the wayside so they can focus on climate change. And if you remove the EPA from shutting down coal, going after natural gas, going after cows and methane, and going after the power plants, and going after all the emissions, and you restore them to actual environmental protection, lead in the drinking water in Detroit, go after any toxic waste cleanup, scale back the mission and eliminate climate, you could have massive budget cuts. And let's hope that's where they're headed with Lee Zeldin and the Trump administration.
All right. Tell me about this idea that they may take CO2 off the pollutant list.
Yes.
Explain to me CO2 and the craziness surrounding it.
Okay, I was working in the U.S. Senate Environment Public Works Committee, and in 2009, President Obama came in the EPA and decided to, and they had the Supreme Court backing, they could regulate carbon dioxide as a pollutant under the 1990 Clean Air Act. Now, they went back 20 years to the 1990 Clean Air Act, which never mentioned carbon dioxide, never mentioned climate, never mentioned any of this. They just sort of extrapolated, pulled it out of thin air. Where have we seen that before? And they, for the first time in U.S. history, started regulating carbon dioxide as a pollutant. Now, keep in mind, humans, we exhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. Over 2 pounds of carbon dioxide a day, the average human. If you exercise, you're doing 5, 6, 7 pounds of carbon dioxide. They want to regulate human breath. They have been regulating human breath as a pollutant under the Clean Air Act. What Lee Zeldin is proposing, and what he sent to Donald Trump, it's called the endangerment finding, is to get rid of the idea that CO2 is an endangerment, overturn this, make it legal, go through the courts. It's going to take a while. But once you get rid of this endangerment finding that CO2 is a pollutant, you can get rid of the legal underpinning for the Inflation Reduction Act, solar wind mandates, the EV mandates, gas-powered car bans, the regional greenhouse gas initiatives, the entire spectrum of climate nonsense that's been foisted on America can go away. And this is Donald Trump's true legacy, Donald Trump 2.0, a permanence that his first term didn't have. You can permanently cripple the climate agenda and permanently cripple the UN agenda if you get the UN Paris Agreement rejected as a treaty in the Senate as well.
Well, it sounds like you absolutely can. Great stuff, as always, exposing all this stuff over at Climate Depot. Mark Morano, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, folks, coming up, your health. Stick around. I got some tips for you. Welcome back, everyone. If you're like me, I know you look for anything you can do to improve your quality of life. Well, I can tell you one way to improve your quality of life is to get healthy, especially at the cellular level. That's where Energized Health comes in. They've got this, well, I'm going to call it a movement, but this challenge, the My 555 Challenge, that's also the website, my555challenge.com, that kicks off the beginning of next week. I urge you to go to that website and get ready for this, okay? Because this is about getting the life you want, improving the quality of your life. Check this out.
Listen, guys, 5 days, we promise you this will change your life. I've spent 27 years helping people transform at the cellular level. This is your time.
I started on the 5-5 challenge. I lost 10 pounds.
You invested in yourself, and I'm going to invest back in you.
Everything in this makes sense.
This is your time. So if you put it off in the past, don't put it off anymore. This is your moment.
Oh, I just doing the next right thing. It's simple.
You've been praying for an answer. Here's the answer to your prayer. So take an action step. Join us on this 555 challenge.
I'll tell you what, the secret is in the science and the simplicity of it all. I want to bring in now the founder of Energized Health, who'll be leading you along that 555 challenge. John Jubilee is back with us. John, welcome.
Hey, Grant, great to be here.
All right, so Monday kicks off another 555 challenge. You guys always get a big response. What can people expect?
Well, Grant, what they can expect is, first of all, they're going to get a little bit of a mind blow in a good way. In a good way. Their mind is going to get blown that, wow, I just learned some things I never knew before. I just learned why I failed in the past, maybe for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, why I kept failing. I learned the things that the same common mistakes, the 5 main mistakes that all of us make when we try to diet or weight loss or supplement or program. We'll help you learn what those things are so you can avoid those from now on. And then we're going to share our breakthrough science of intracellular hydration and why this is the game changer, why this helped me and it can help you. For 28 years, Grant, I lost a 10-inch belly. I regrew my cartilage. I was bone on bone in both my knees. I had hypertension, high blood pressure, reversed all of that in 88 days with this breakthrough science. And you can too. And this can be your best year, your best life, your best health. 28 years, not one medical doctor visit, and that can be your story.
Yeah. It started to be my story because just a little while ago, I started the My 5-5 Challenge, and then I went on through the program, and I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. And so you want to talk about mind blown. John, you know, I was in pretty good shape for a 55-year-old at the time. I was in pretty good shape. I needed to tone it up, and I thought, 15 pounds? Where did I get this 15 pounds from? And I'm feeling great, but poof, it was gone like nothing, John.
No, that's so exciting, Grant. And we get to, hear those stories. We call it the miracle of the day. So we have people that reversed irreversible diseases, people that were using a walker and now they could jog for 5 miles. People that never thought, that they would be running a 5K or a 10K or climbing a mountain or playing with their grandkids on the floor again. But all of those things are real stories by real people just like you who took the challenge, who learned something new, and then they implemented it, went on to do the full 88-day protocol. And the other thing, Grant, I would really say is a game changer. If people sign up for the VIP, immediately they can, I call it your health GPS. You have to know where you are on a GPS to get where you want to go, right? And so we will FedEx you a bioimpedance, a medical bioimpedance device to measure your hydration, your skeletal muscle, your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat, so you know exactly where you're at. And then you also get to spend 3 extra hours of, where you are asking Chelsea and I your personal health questions of your specific circumstances that you have, and we will answer those. It's like a one-on-one consultation. Just that would be worth $1,000, by the way. But you get all of that, guys, for literally less than $100.
Well, I have one of those bio devices, and I use it every day. Connects to my phone. I can look at my phone. I see my progress. And I'll tell everybody out there this. I hate to use the term easy because it takes commitment, but it really wasn't hard. I like none of it. Not what I was eating, not the workouts. It's not killing yourself. And it all came, like I said, I don't want to use the word easy, but it came pretty easy, John. I'll give you the last word on it.
Yeah, hey, look, guys, no running, no sit-ups, no heavy breathing, no crazy diet plan. You get to eat real food because it's real science. It's the way God made our body. And one of the frontline doctors who's actually in the protocol right now, she said, this is elegant. This is elegant. She didn't use the word easy, but she said it's elegant science, Grant.
All right, I'm going to use that from now on. Elegant silence is a good way to describe it. Let me tell people how to find you. John Jubilee, thank you for coming on tonight. And here's the website, guys, my555challenge.com. That's my555challenge.com. Kicks off on Monday. If you start that VIP experience as well, you'll get that bioimpedance device, which is really, really cool, by the way. Very cool. All right, I hope you sign up and have the success that I do. They guarantee it, folks. What can you lose but the wait? Kathy Griffin can't believe that anyone, especially her Moroccan cab driver, likes Trump. Hear that story next.
Hey, Real America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored, and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Getter.
Live.
So join the conversation.
Hop on the Getter chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Getter friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth, and we're doing it on Getter
every single day.
So don't wait. Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
You asked, and we heard you, America.
Real America's Voice is coming to iHeartMedia.
Yes, Real America's Voice is now breaking through the white noise of the mainstream media.
Just download the iHeart app, and you'll have all of us right at your fingertips.
Scan the QR code and start streaming RAV anywhere you want.
Real America's Voice, available whenever you need us.
It's never been easier to stay connected with the voices you trust.
RAV on iHeart means you can take us with you wherever you go.
This is huge. The truth on iHeart. Ready whenever you are.
From Charlie Kirk to Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec to Grant Stinchfield, you'll find all your favorite RAV hosts in one place.
You can listen on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, or Amazon. RAV is now available everywhere you get your podcasts. All you need to do is scan the QR code right now.
Download the iHeart app today and get ready for Real America's Voice.
Scan the QR code and join the RAV movement. RAV family, we've got a surprise for you.
We got major news. Bowling, tell us what's going to happen on Monday.
I've been doing a podcast called Bowling, and it will be carried now on Real America's Voice. Best news of all of this, it leads into the war room.
Join the RAV family. Live programming starting at 6 a.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern.
What are the lineup of Real America's Voice?
Kick off the day with American Sunrise.
Live with you from the Palm Beaches.
10 to noon, you got War Room. Noon to 2, you got Charlie Kirk. 2 to 3, you got Jack Posobiec. 3 to 4, you got Steve Gruber. 4 to 5, Eric Bowling. 5 to 6, back with War Room. You got John Solomon 6 to 7, and Stinchfield 7 to 8. That's 9 hours of madness.
Here you're getting organic and truth. You're getting the truth, Steve.
Wow. 4 to 5, Eric Bowling's going to be tee up the War Room.
I love these folks.
Let's hear for Eric.
Thank you, guys.
Watch Bowling weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, only on Real America's Voice.
Welcome back, everyone. Failed comedian Kathy Griffin learned a hard lesson. Stop apologizing for America, and people actually love Trump. Listen to this story.
They sent a car for me to take me to Oxford. It was pouring rain, and the driver was Moroccan, so I did what I naturally do. A lot of Americans do it. Some of you may have done it. I just immediately apologized for Trump. Like immediately, because I'm from Morocco. I go, let me get this out of the way. I know. I can't believe we voted in Trump. I get it. He goes, he's the greatest president you've ever had. And I'm doing this like backpedal thing of
That's every Uber driver, Lyft driver I get in the car with. Everybody loves Trump because America is rocking and rolling. Kathy Griffin, move if you're apologizing for America. Get on out of here. We don't need you. But we need those Uber drivers, and we need the working class in America, and we need President Trump. That's going to do it for us. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night. Real America's Voice and across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. Glad you're in, everybody, on a busy Thursday. Lots to do. Rick Delgado's here. He's going to do the news. Slick's here. He's going to do some sports. Vinnie Mac is here. Vinnie Mac, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Had a great day. Beautiful day today, by the way.
It was beautiful in New York. The weather is finally getting to a point where I can wear flip-flops again, which, as you guys know, I do as soon as I can. Mr. Delgado, how are you?
Baffled. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know.
You wear flip-flops every freaking day of the year. What are you
I was waiting, bud. Well, we have a special guest with us tonight, so we'll get to your baffledness and along with the rest of the country, or maybe not all of it, but a lot of it on that a little coming up. And I want to thank Slick for giving up his seat because we have a special guest with us tonight. Of course, he's an author. He is a speaker. He is a best-selling author, and he is a TV host and a brand new podcast host as well. Please welcome Tom Hackman to the show. Tom, how are you?
Thanks, Damon. Doing great.
It's great to have you here. Now, Tom is a retirement income expert, and I've been lucky enough to be working with Tom over the last years on a bunch of different projects. And I wanted him to come on tonight because of everything that's going on with Doge and government and Trump and the administration. And he's in New York filming for your show that I guess airs on CNBC. And it's what's the show about?
Financial freedom. And really what I do is I bring Main Street financial advisors in. You know, CNBC and Fox Business good with Wall Street, but I'm bringing in Main Street, real financial advisors to give advice and assistance to people who want to retire and want to build wealth.
Yeah. And you got a new podcast with the same name that's going to come out this year as well. So you got a lot of great things going on. So I wanted to have you on because there's a lot going on. And it's funny because I got to work with you through Biden administration, and now here we are in the Trump administration. And you used to say something to me during the Biden administration. You said taxes have nowhere to go in this country but up. And it's not a left-right problem. It's a math problem. Now that the Trump administration's in and you see what's going on right now as they're fighting for a reconciliation bill and to extend the Trump tax cuts, do you still have that same feeling?
Well, I do, because, you know, there's an ocean of debt. And even though Doge is going in there and finding stuff, it's almost like they're taking a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket into the ocean and trying to bail it out. And the more I see how big the problem is. Now, I hope this gold card can raise trillions of dollars. I hope they can pay off the debt, but the debt is a major problem. 36 trillion. We're adding $1 trillion about every 85 days. And so, I mean, there's got to be a lot more cutting than what's being cut. So I do think at some point taxes are going to have to go up. I hope Trump can figure it out. I hope they can fix it all. But it's a big, it's an ocean of problems.
So if they pass the Trump tax cuts through reconciliation. Of course, people on the left are going to say, well, you're blowing a hole in the budget to give your rich friends a tax break, and we're going to pay for it. But if they do pass them and they do extend them, taxes aren't going to go up anytime soon, are they?
Not soon, but I mean, it's just this massive problem that after time, I mean, unless they can bend the curve, if they can bend the curve and we can actually see the debt coming down, then I may say something different. But right now, we're still adding $1 trillion every 85 days, and until that changes, at some point, taxes are going to have to go up, or something's going to have to happen.
Yeah, and it just seems like they're not willing to get to where the real cutting would have to be, which unfortunately, and it's it's like the third rail of talking about this stuff, but it's entitlements, right?
Yeah, but they could fix it pretty easy. Social Security is an easy fix. Medicare, Medicaid, I don't know. I'm hoping somebody smarter than me can figure that out. But I could fix Social Security for the next 100 years in less than 15 minutes.
By doing what?
Well, they're going to have to. My dad got Social Security at 65. I don't get it till 67. My daughter probably shouldn't get full Social Security till she's 69. Her kids maybe not till they're 71. We're paying tax on 6.2%. Our employers match that. Maybe it needs to go to 7.5. We're paying now to 160 or 170,000. Maybe that has to go to 250. It's not going to be major changes, but of course, the left will be saying they're pushing Granny off the cliff, and they'll have pictures of them pushing Granny off the cliff. No, they're trying to save Social Security for the next 100 years. The Democrats can't fix it. The Republicans can't fix it. They're going to have to come together, and that's a problem. But if they came out together like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they fixed it for 50 years, that's what's going to have to happen if they're going to fix it for another 50 or 100 years.
Yeah. So you see Elon, and you said a little bit about Doge and kind of what they're up against, but what do you think so far of Doge, what they're finding? I mean, is probably not a surprise that there's fraud, waste, and abuse in government. Obviously, this overly behemoth, iron-fisted, top-down government that we're living under. But what do you think of Doge? What do you think of the prospects of what they're trying to do?
It's kind of disgusting, the things that they're finding. But but even what he's found so far, look at the wailing and gnashing of teeth. You'd think that they're pulling teeth of everybody, and they're finding waste, fraud, and abuse. But people are screaming. And now, I mean, there are people who are losing their jobs. And I mean, I got a daughter at my time. I just said, to my wife, what if my daughter would have got hired at one of these jobs, and then they just eliminate them just willy-nilly. There's a park ranger out in Iowa who's a newly hired guy, and he lost his job. He's got a family, so they're going to start personalizing some of this, but he's hardly cut anything, less than 1%, and they're screaming and wailing. How can we cut $36 trillion? I mean, how can we pay that off? It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Vin?
Yeah, I have a few questions for you. So on the whole idea of, number one, dealing with the deficit and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what I see happening here is downsizing government, cleaning out waste, increasing revenue, all these things that he's doing, bringing in all sorts of money to increase revenue. I just remember in the dot-com boom when Bill Clinton was the beneficiary of all that money coming into the tax system. It seems to me that we might go through a process like that right now, where we cut enough to make a dent, not a big one, and then we have a process of more income where the tax revenue rises, and perhaps that takes the deficit down to something that becomes more manageable and then can come down. Do you see that as a possibility?
I hope that happens. And look, Trump's a businessman. He's bringing business in. Look at all the stuff he's bringing in.
Yeah.
And that could help too. And you sell these gold cards and you sell this other stuff.
The gold card thing's interesting. The other question I had for you was, I remember George Bush talked about this, and I saw an article recently that said if we put our retirement, our Social Security with the S&P 500, we'd be getting 30-some-odd thousand a month. And maybe there's a strategy around that, because the 401ks, for what they do, they're not really pensions, but they do create a savings for people. Mm-hmm. There are people that can save $1 million if you work for the same company a long time, or even $100,000.
You want to be partnered with the U.S. government, sure.
Yeah.
But they're invested in mutual funds and stocks and all that type of stuff. And I'm just wondering, how much of a difference would that make, where if Social Security was carved out of the government, in essence, and gave you the choice? You want the government to put it in government T-bills, or you want it to best conservative, then your benefits will be represented that, or you want to put it in like you do your 401k. That might solve it in a way, because it'll give everybody more money. Maybe you can retire earlier.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a choice, though, because, again, as soon as the market crashes, they say, see, there they go. They lose all your money, So, but I think if people had a choice, I certainly would choose to put it more market-based than where it is now. I think it would have to be a choice. But if it was a choice, I think that's fine.
But even on that market-based idea, you look at Social Security, and we're the same age. We were talking about that before we got on. So I look at it. I'm not looking to tap into it, but I look at it and I'm like, who can retire on these kind of numbers, right? You got to have all these other things. It makes no sense, right? In today's economy, it makes no sense. I have this place in Florida that I mentioned to you, and they're getting assessments all over the place. People are on fixed incomes. I mean, it's a real crisis.
It is
for that. It doesn't make sense to me that they can create a living wage like that when they're willing to give living wages to illegals and all these others for lots more.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I think if people had a choice, you could either do the government system as you got now, or you could do a market-based system.
I think
a lot of people would take the market-based system. But if you force it, then it's going to be the narrative, there they go. They're trying to lose you your money.
I think you do it like a 401k. You have your options. Government 25% with the government, 25% with this. That kind of thing. It just makes too much sense.
Yeah. No, I would support that.
What's your biggest advice right now in these times with inflation the way it is, and people, maybe my age, 50s, early 50s, and lower 40s?
Yeah, you're getting up there.
Thank you. What's the biggest mistake they're making in saving for retirement, or what's the biggest mistake maybe you see of people in the 30s, 40s as they think about starting to save?
Well, I've spent my entire career working with baby boomers, showing them how to retire the optimal way. There is an optimal formula. It's about, having increasing income for the rest of your life and then managing all the risks in retirement. But for younger people, what they really want to do is they want to increase their saving, and they want to put their money into appreciating assets. See, too many people put their money into cars and boats and RVs and jet skis and clothes and handbags and shoes, and all those things are depreciating assets. Worse, they're charging it on their credit card, or they're taking car loans. And so they're paying interest on things that are going down every day. And you'll never get wealthy if you're paying interest on depreciating assets. And so it's focused on putting your money into appreciating assets. And if they would do that, and the other thing is, young people get impatient. They don't become rich in their 30s and 40s, so then they say, screw it, I'm going to buy the RV, I'm going to buy the boat, I'm going to buy the car. And what I would do with people is I'd use the rule of 72. That's how fast money doubles. You divide whatever rate of return you get into the number 72. It tells you how many years to double your money. So I would use 7.2%, because then your money doubles every 10 years, and it's a fair rate of return. So let's say I'm working with somebody in their 30s. They have $150,000, and they say, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not getting rich. And I say, no, wait. $150,000 in your 30s will be $300,000 in your 40s. Will be $600,000 in your 50s. $1.2 million in your 60s. $2.4 million in your 70s. $4.8 million in your 80s. $9.6 million in your 90s. That's just that money, and you're going to be saving other money. And so, if people would just give time, the young people have time on their side, and if they would just have a little more patience. But it's what you do in your 20s and 30s and 40s that will result in you becoming wealthy in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And people just say, well, I don't want to wait till I'm 60 to be wealthy. Well, sorry, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's a hard dynamic,
Yeah, but
when I was a young guy, I didn't believe it.
You're not going to get wealthy in your 30s and 40s.
Right.
It's just not, Elon Musk. But, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
401ks you still recommend for kids starting to save, or
up to the match?
Look at the Roth.
Up of Roth 401k if you get a choice. But if you have a regular 401k and they match you put in 4%, they match 4%, that's 100%, I do it. But above the match, I wouldn't do it. I do Roth IRA, I do Roth 401k, I do cash value life insurance. I put it in places where you can get tax-free income in retirement. I think if you can schedule as much tax-free income in retirement, you're going to be happy.
Yeah. We're speaking with Tom Hackman. Of course, he's a best-selling author, speaker, retirement expert. And his show, Financial Freedom with Tom Hackman, is going to air on CNBC's 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. It airs this Saturday as well, and it'll air all throughout 2025, so you can catch that. And, of course, his latest book was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Are you going to do another book?
Probably not. I mean, not for a while. But that one's really good for young people. It shows them how simple it is to become a millionaire in America today.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can find it, Tom Hackman. Tom, thanks so much. Glad you're in New York. It's good to see you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Damon.
Tom Hackman here, live from Studio 6B, just getting started, 13 past the hour on a Thursday night. We'll jump into the news, sports. We'll do it all when we get back right after this.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take your shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Ba-ba-da-da. 17 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night, February 27th. Live, Real America's Voice, and of course across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. I want to thank Tom for coming in the studio tonight. He's here for taping his CNBC show, and I asked him if he wanted to come over, and he said, well, I'm usually in bed by then. And I said, well, come on, since you're here. So I'm glad he came over. He is a smart cookie, man. He is a smart cookie, though. He knows his stuff. Slickster's back in his seat. Slick, thanks for giving up your seat to Tom. How are you?
Absolutely, Big D. I was realizing I am a depreciating asset. Being one of the last years of the boomers, I buy all these suits, and every time I look at my checking account, I realize how my assets are depreciating. Yeah. So I picked up on that from Tom.
There you go. So
very good.
You learned something right away.
Absolutely.
You're a big depreciating closet. Exactly.
Exactly. And I love every minute of it.
All right. Well, let's we'll do some sports. Delgado's going to do some news. Vinnie Mac's got news as well. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. But before we get to sports, I'll give Slick a second to settle in here. Let me just give Delgado the floor because I thought...
my goodness.
Now, I'm not going to say that I was right.
No.
But I did say towards the end of last night's show that there was a lot of ways that we could be let down. I don't know if I had necessarily this scenario.
No, you didn't. But that's
in
okay.
Mind,
you can gloat.
I got to the general point, did I not?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I was fearing that as well.
Every time I saw something on Twitter, Glenn Beck just losing it.
Oh my goodness! I got a clip of him. You want to see that?
Saying that this is such phony baloney nonsense. I would just retweet it and thought, oh my, who could have seen this coming?
Oh my goodness! I know the Epstein files, of course, is what Damon is alluding to.
I knew Delgado was thinking, God darn it, all day. I was deal with tropical depression.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, here's video of me waiting for the Epstein files, and then when they came out, cut number 5. This was me. This was me waiting for the Epstein files. Here I go. And then I find out. That's basically what I was going through.
Would you have a few extra donuts before you did that?
God, you get stung by a colony of bees before you did that, or what?
I think you had a few extra donuts before you did it.
Yeah.
So yes, the Epstein files. But what can I say? Here, cut number 1. Here is I guess the influencers, I guess, coming out and showing off the Epstein files that they got, which turned out a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
I believe this is DC Drano holding up his.
Yeah, I don't want to say. Listen. I had my Delgado tinfoil hat on when I saw Glenn Beck's thing and then realized this was all a big scam. No, I don't want to call it a scam.
I wouldn't say a scam.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. But I just hope these people didn't got played specifically because that they thought, all right, let's give it to some. I don't know. My mind was going every place today. That normally that doesn't happen.
Right. And what's amazing is that they put them out there and let them walk out with this binder, and you think, oh my goodness, they all got a binder. This is going to be great. They're going to do a massive dump. They're going to go through it and share with us everything, and that didn't happen. What we did see.
Well, you think this is like a buy more time skit, and these people got played and used?
Well, did you see the letter from Pam Bondi?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't see a ton. My son had a playoff game tonight.
Okay.
Big win, by the way.
Awesome.
Going around 2.
But Pam Bondi released a letter after the big disappointment today. There it is, which reads, it's directed to Director Patel. It says, Dear Director Patel, before you came into office, I requested a full and complete file related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein lists of contacts, and lists of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request, and was repeatedly reassured by the FBI we had received the full set of documents. Late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When I spoke to you yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. Now, this is the next part of her letter. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, that's 12 hours from now, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein file to my office, including all records, documents, audio, video recordings, materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, blah, 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 regardless of how such information was obtained. There will be no withholdings or limitations to my or your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims in accordance with law, blah, blah, blah. I'm also directing you to conduct an immediate investigation as to why my order to the FBI was not followed. You will deliver to me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. I appreciate your immediate attention. I know we are both committed to transparency for the American people, and I look forward to working with you to serve the president of our country. Signed, Attorney General Pam Bondi. So she's that's a pretty strongly worded letter.
Cash responded. Do you have that?
I don't have that.
He responded and said, hey, I'm on it. New York office withheld information.
Yeah.
And I'll have it for you.
Yeah. And in response to that, once that came out, Glenn Beck had this to say. This is cut number 3. And what he thinks could be something that's going on right now. Cut 3.
Liz reports that she was told that the feeling from Pam Bondi and others is that the Southern District of New York, the FBI in the Southern District of New York, actually has the tapes and everything else and will not turn it over to the White House or to Pam Bondi. if that is true, and I understand Liz correctly, and Liz is going to be on my radio program tomorrow and my podcast tomorrow to talk about her experience. If that indeed is true, then we have a civil war on our hands, an internal civil war.
Yeah, which is basically within the FBI. You've got the Southern District of New York outwardly disobeying direct orders from the President of the United States and their boss, the Attorney General, as well.
Here's the positive thing of this, okay? Let's glass half full. It happened early.
Yes.
In the administration with Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, that letter meant business. They're not going to get away with this. Heads have to roll.
Yeah.
Have to. And this is the perfect opportunity for her to set that premise. You know, Glenn Beck, what he said is true. However, if she takes advantage of this opportunity and absolutely fillets people, maybe even arrests some, does whatever she needs to do, maybe we can offset all this problem, you know, of all this nonsense that's going to go on behind the scenes, you know, the withholding.
Right. And one of the, top, players in that Southern District of New York goes by the last name of Comey.
Oh, really?
Daughter.
No relation?
The daughter of James Comey.
Oh, I cannot believe this.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's so incestuous.
Isn't this crazy?
It's crazy.
Insane. And you know what's even crazier? And again, we've known by everything that we've seen throughout the news the last couple decades about this Epstein guy, what he was up to, what he was doing. And they also knew. And by they, I mean the senators and the congresspeople and the people in government. And even Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, knew, and she admitted it. Here's cut number 2. Listen to what she says. Cut 2.
Hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
Yeah.
Videotapes? How does that sound?
They all knew what he was doing, but nobody said boo.
He has a lot on a lot of people. I mean, he's dead now, but there's a lot. So they were afraid. I mean, simple as that.
So is this a rug pulled today, yes or no?
I think for me, it was more of a zipline flop. If you go to cut 5, you can see that again. This is me writing it out. That's what it is. I mean, until we see what they're hiding. Yeah, this was a rug pull.
Okay. 26 past the hour, live from Studio 6B. More to do on this and a lot more when we get back right after this.
The FBI calls it house stealing, the latest scam where a cyber thief transfers the title of your home out of your name and steals your hard-earned equity.
It's roughly 60 to 90 days for that person to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. You start getting foreclosure notices and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house that you didn't even know existed.
Unfortunately, it's on you to protect yourself. You might already be a victim. Check your title status now at HomeTitleLock.com.
Why is Navage trusted by millions?
Before Navage, I was not living my best life because I could not breathe. The huge difference is the fact that Navage pulls it out. It's very gentle in the sense of when that suction happens, it's literally grabbing that water and that mucus and it's bringing it out into this tank. It's worth every penny that you pay for it. This product changed my life.
And for stuffy little noses, pick up the new Navage Baby Aspirator, now at Walmart in the baby department.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. My hose is lightweight. Oh, no. My hose will not kink. Come on. And my hose is anti-leak. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow to a full-size 3/4-inch hose. It stretches and expands like a rubber band. And when you turn off the water, away it goes, shrinking and squeezing that water out until it's practically bone dry. and that makes it easy to carry and put away. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, similar to the technology used in forest fire hoses because it's light and tough. 3 times stronger than the other hoses. It's guaranteed for 10 years. Nearly impossible to tear or snag. And the redesigned connector protector helps stop leaks at the spigot. But my favorite part of our new hose build? The oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Easy on and off, even with gloves. With more than 100 patents worldwide, it's the best pocket hose in the world. Get the super light 25-foot pocket hose copper bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our copper spray nozzle with our exclusive thumb drive free. Simply use your thumb to turn off and on. And with 10 unique patterns, you'll have a setting for every job. It's a $30 value, yours free with every 50-foot copper bullet. But it's not available in stores. This is an exclusive release of our newest pocket hose. There is a strict limit of 3 per order, so don't wait. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-448-0876 or visit copperbullethose.com. So call 1-800-448-0876 or visit copperbullethose.com. Order now.
All right, 30 minutes past the hour, live from Studio 6B. We'll get to sports here in a second, but just so I was just reading this. I saw Liz Wheeler put this tweet out. She's one of the binder brigade who got one of these binders today. And so I guess the binder brigade is getting heat from everybody, like hate towards them. Like, I don't know what they're supposed to have done. What did they know? She's like, why? She's basically saying, why is everybody mad at us? We went there there was no pretense that we were going to get anything that was so damning. And quite frankly, the AG was pissed when she found out that basically she was lied to, and this was a big nothing burger rug pull of these binders. But she's saying, why aren't you mad at SDNY and everybody else? Why are we taking why is the binder brigade taking all this heat tonight?
Right.
Which,
I think they're taking the heat because they can't get to Bondi, I guess. Because I think a lot of people were, why are you giving it to, social media influencers? Why aren't you just publishing what you have on the website for the government and let us all read it? Right. As opposed to doling it out to these people. And now we know that there's really nothing in there. Why giving it out to these people and let them determine what they're going to publish?
Yeah, they were the face. They came out and stood on the steps and held the binders. So, yeah, they were going to bust their chops because we think they were the ones that were, helping to push this stuff out. And what you said is 100% right. She should have just put it up on the site and left it at that. We don't need influencers to do it. And you know what? Kash Patel didn't do his homework here either. I mean, he really should have been. Laura had knowledge of this.
Laura Loomer tonight's Pam Bondi's never going to recover from this.
That's ridiculous.
That seems somewhat ridiculous to me. I mean, really?
That's the idea, though. Why do they do this? They want to make these people look really bad. They want to undermine them till people lose faith in what they can do, so that a moron like this comes out with a comment like that.
Right.
That's going to be. We got to get used to that because they are going to try that.
And she's on our side. She's supposedly on our side too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I don't care what side she's on. That's a stupid comment, but we're going to be faced with that over months. But that's why I say they have to do something strong.
And they have to, and they got to hold the line on that 8 a.m. Deadline tomorrow morning. If that stuff is not, and this is me, if I'm Pam Bondi, if that stuff is not here in my office tomorrow with a big freaking bow on it, I am sending troops in to get you people, arrest you all, then we'll start pulling things apart ourselves and see what you're hiding.
But wasn't there a report? And again, I don't know if the report was real. Wasn't there a report earlier this week or early last week that somebody thought before Kash got to the FBI, there was some report that they may have been destroying documents? Like, how does anybody possibly think you're going to go into the SDNY after all these years and find anything real at this point? Even her.
I'm of the mind, and you hear a lot of computer people say this. You can try all you want. If there's even just a piece of a drive left, I think they can recover a lot of stuff.
I mean, people in the chat are saying this is bad for Pam. Bondi lied. Pam this, Pam that. I'm kind of surprised, actually. I mean that people are treating this as like, well, I don't know this is her second week.
Well, she's a victim of the deep state. That's as simple as that. The question is, what is she going to do about it? That's where I land on this.
She could have, and I think I know where they're going with this. Why didn't she just say, "Look, yesterday I'm releasing stuff tomorrow. It's not what we said it was going to be because of these," and that would have been, hey, just be honest. Say, look, here's what they gave us. It's garbage. We know it's garbage. We're trying to get the real stuff. They've been, playing games. Like I said, if it's not on my desk by tomorrow, I guess that's send in the.
And that's why I asked you, these influences that, that's the other question too. Like, why go through this whole charade of making them come out and hold them up and making this big deal of it if you know what you just gave them is basically a nothing burger?
She didn't know. That's what she said. She did not know it was a nothing burger. She found out after the fact. That letter.
She did not look at them and then give them out like pretzels.
Right.
Of course, she had to know what was in there.
No, she knew it was in there. I don't think she knew that the Eastern District had thousands of pages of more stuff. She was told in the letter she sent, it was pretty explicit. I was told, this is it. This is everything. That's what I was told. And I find out that's not true. So she released it thinking it's everything, and she finds out it's not true. She sent that letter, and that's where we are.
But a quick call to Kash Patel, because he had seen this stuff.
Okay.
Could have said, no, there's way more. I've seen it. Because he did say he has seen it.
I hear you on that. And Kash dropped the ball here, too.
Loomer's on a rant tonight. There are no Epstein files. The binders are props. Every single one of those paid influencers lied to you. They engaged in deception to run cover for pedophiles. They posted selfies with prop binders, liars, and deceivers. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Let's do some sports. 35 past the hour. We'll get moving into some other things, but we'll keep an eye on anything else or anything else breaks on this tonight. Sounds like it's probably not going to, but let's do some sports. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell, MyPillow. LFS6B is a promo code to use. Slickster, what's going on?
All right, Big D. NCAA men's basketball light schedule tonight. Division I. We got North Texas right now leading FAU 61-46, 7:42 to go there in the second half. Rutgers taking on Michigan. That's a 9 p.m. tip. In St. Mary's at LMU, 11 p.m. tip. To the ice we go. And I can tell you we're not on 103.9 tonight because the Islanders are up in the Boston Garden there taking on at the TD Garden nowadays, taking on the Bruins, and they lead 2-0, 1:48 to go in the second period. Talk about fake news, huh? There we go. Sharks and Canadians tied at 2 with 3.5 to go there in the second period. Also, Blue Jackets over the Wood Rings 3-1, 5 to go there. We got the Lightning 1-0 over the Flames, 2 to go there in the second. Oilers and Panthers tied at 1 midway through the second. Blues and Caps. Blues leading that one 3-2, 2:26 to go there in the second period. Hurricanes over the Sabres 3-1, 5 to go there. 17 to go in the second. Flyers blanking the Penguins 2-0. Jets and Predators tied at 1, just a little way past midway first there. Wild and Utah Hockey Club, that's a 9 p.m. puck drop. Blackhawks at the Golden Knights out in Vegas, 10 p.m. puck drop, as well as the Canucks and the Ducks in Anaheim getting it on at 10 p.m. as well. NBA right now, light schedule as well. Magic over the Warriors 73-72 to 6 to go there in the third, and the Nuggets lead the Bucks 32-30, 11 to go there in the second quarter. And we go. Spurs coach Greg Popovich out for rest of season following stroke. Warner Todd Houston of Breitbart. San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich is out for the season after suffering a stroke in November, a report says. The coach released a statement on Thursday praising interim head coach Mitch Johnson for the wonderful job he has done during the season. I've decided not to return to the sidelines this season, he said in the statement. I will continue to focus on my health with the hope that I can return to coaching in the future, Popovich added, according to TMZ. The last game Popovich was at full strength was for October's Halloween game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 76, the opinionated, and we do know that, coach is currently the oldest in the NBA. So Popovich has won 5 championships. That's why this is worthy news, and has been coach of the year 3 times. And, well, Kash Patel, he's keeping busy. Did you hear the story about Kash? Well, he is looking for FBI Director. Kash wants UFC to partnership and train agents. How do you like that one? This is Dylan Gwynn at Breitbart. Newly confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel wants to cultivate a relationship with the UFC, suggesting that the world's premier MMA league could help the Bureau's agents improve their fitness, according to sources familiar with Patel's teleconference call with FBI field officers this week. According to 4 sources who claim to be familiar with the call, Patel mentioned the idea on Wednesday in a video teleconference with the 55 field supervisors. During the call, Patel mentioned that incoming Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is a big UFC fan and convinced him to try training the new director, very much like the training he received, and according to the sources, believes it could also be valuable for FBI agents. Some of the sources seem less convinced that the Bureau's agents need help from Dana White. There is a training the FBI has received in physical altercations, a former Justice Department official said, speaking anonymously, of course. If Kash Patel believed that should be beefed up, the answer is not to go Donald Trump's best friend who runs the UFC. It's clearly motivated by the glitz and glamour show and Trump's friend. It's unclear whether Patel envisions the partnership to increase the fighting skills of FBI agents, merely enhance their physical fitness, or both. I'm thinking both. In either event, it's unclear how training offered by the most competitive and well-rounded fighters could be construed as negative. While Dana White's cozy relationship with Donald Trump will draw some scrutiny, as it did from the source familiar with the call, the UFC is valued at over $12.3 billion. In other words, it doesn't need an FBI contract to survive, like everybody else that's involved with Trump these days, right? The sources claim Patel informed them that a dialogue with the UFC had already begun. So, UFC could be training FBI agents, Rick. What do you think about that one? I know you're a big fitness guy.
Yeah.
I love it, right?
That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be fantastic.
A lot of criminals tapping out.
Yeah, exactly.
No question about it. And Big D, I'm going to throw it back to you.
All right, Slick, very good. Sports brought to you by Mike Lindell. LFS6B is the promo code to use. 39 past the hour. Let's do some news. If there is other news that Delgado can focus on here tonight.
Oh, my goodness. I don't think I can.
Man, I thought about Delgado all day today. And
that's like the first time.
Yeah.
When you're not actually mad at me.
Yeah. All right, let's do the news, and Delgado's got it. What's going on?
Well, this is a sad one. This is picture number 3 of the late, now great Gene Hackman, who was found dead in his home in New Mexico. Oh, my story just disappeared. I hate NBC News. They provide terrible links.
This is the story on this is kind of moved throughout the day.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Oscar winner, of course, Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and their dog were found dead. Turns out they've been dead for some time, according to this story, in Santa Fe, Mexico, where the Oscar winner's wife and one of their dogs were apparently dead for some time before a maintenance worker discovered their bodies at the couple's Santa Fe home. Hackman was 95, was found dead Wednesday in an entryway, and his 65-year-old wife, Betsy, was found in a bathroom next to the space heater. According to Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office detectives, wrote in their affidavit, there's an open prescription of bottles and pills scattered across the countertop near Arakawa. Denise Avila, the sheriff's spokesperson, said there's no indication that they had been shot or had any wounds. The New Mexico Gas Company tested the gas line. Carbon monoxide leak
or something? Or
here they said New Mexico Gas Lines.
No.
The New Mexico Gas Company tested the gas lines in and around the home and discovered at the time they found no signs of problems, and the fire department found no signs of carbon monoxide leak or poisoning, according to the detectives.
And I heard they found 2 dogs alive as well. So
yeah, they had several dogs. One was found dead. It's just a weird, strange story that broke early this morning, according to many.
How'd the dog die?
The dog, they don't know yet. It's just a weird, weird story. He was loved and admired by millions around the world for his brilliant acting, but to us, he was just dad and grandpa. His daughters and granddaughter said in a statement on Thursday, he will be sorely missed, and we are devastated by the loss.
He was a great actor. You know, one of the first movies I think I saw when I was young was The Poseidon Adventure.
Yes.
You know, he played the Reverend. I've got a list of some of his great movies. French Connection won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde.
I didn't see that.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor.
The Poseidon Adventure. Hoosiers.
Didn't see that.
One of the greatest sports movies.
You never saw Hoosiers?
Oh, Hoosiers
was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Hoosiers I saw, yeah.
Hoosiers, one of the greatest sports movies, with the exception of Miracle on Ice, which is probably the best sports movie ever made. But Hoosiers, great. No Way Out. The Firm.
Was all right.
Superman.
Yeah.
Royal Tenenbaums. And what was the movie with La Caja Fall, or the one in Birdcage? The Birdcage.
Oh, that movie was
When
great.
he played the senator, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Robin Williams. A great actor.
And you know what was an actual, one of, I guess, everybody's favorite cameos for him was Young Frankenstein. He played the blind guy.
That's right.
Wait a second.
And he sets Young Frankenstein's finger on fire. He runs out. He goes, "Where are you going? I was going to make." What What was the freaking line? It was coffee he was going to make.
Don't leave
I was
us
going to make cappuccino.
I didn't know that. That's great information.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. Everybody at the same time.
It's one of those little scenes, but it was quite memorable.
That is weird, wacky stuff there, Rick.
So sad. An American icon passed away.
Totally.
In a very strange, odd situation.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman.
All right, live from Studio 6B. We're back. Wrap up hour one. Man, quick after this.
America is celebrating the start of President Trump's second term. Now, for a limited time, you can get the Kid's Guide to President Trump and a limited edition collectible pin for free. Hurry, supplies are very limited. Visit freetrumpbundle.com now. That's freetrumpbundle.com.
What if you could tackle your dog's itching, mushy poops, and low energy? Millions of pet parents are raving about Dr. Marty Nature's Blend.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues.
I'm Dr. Marty. I've been a veterinarian for more than 50 years. The dangerous ingredients added to many pet foods could be impacting your dog's lifespan. That's why I formulated Nature's Blend.
Now you can feed your dog wholesome cuts of real meat, vegetables, and fruit with no artificial preservatives or fillers. Try Dr. Marty risk-free. Go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Hi, I'm pulmonologist Dr. Jamie Rutland. Did you know we take 20,000 breaths a day? And when we inhale, we invite all the contaminants in the room into our airways? Indoor air quality can be 5 to even 100 times worse than outdoors. Meet the Air Doctor. It's your prescription for clean air and the only hospital-grade air purifier equipped with advanced Ultra HEPA filters, proven to improve your indoor air quality and overall health. I can confidently tell you that if it's in your air, it's in your body. Check this out. This would have been in your lungs.
And now you can breathe better with this exclusive TV-only offer. Save 40% now on your hospital-grade Air Doctor.
What makes Air Doctor hospital grade? Well, it's the triple filtration, including an Ultra HEPA filter that removes virtually 100% of the smallest and most dangerous contaminants down to 0.003 microns, including mold spores, pollen, smoke, pet dander, even bacteria and viruses that make you sick. That's 100 times smaller filtration than ordinary HEPA purifiers. That means you can breathe easy, knowing your family can get relief from allergies and asthma and reduce airborne diseases.
Look what the Air Doctor trapped. I wouldn't want my kids breathing this in.
Air Doctor takes the guesswork out of clean air. A pre-filter captures large particles. The carbon filter removes smelly odors, dangerous gases, and harmful volatile organic compounds. The Ultra HEPA filter captures microscopic contaminants, even bacteria and viruses. And the Air Doctor smart sensors measure pollutants, automatically adjusting the filtration.
It's pulling the pollutants out, it's pulling the allergens out, it's even pulling the toxic chemicals that our cleaning products leave behind.
Call or go to tryair.com now. Get 40% off our best-selling air purifier. Plus, every Air Doctor comes complete with our 30-day Breathe Better money-back guarantee.
Call 1-800-862-7795. That's 1-800-862-7795. Call now.
Attention homeowners. Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Is the bank threatening to take your home? Is your home worth less than you owe? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need to call this number right now.
Call 800-714-8615.
Wow, 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 wow. 13 to the hour, live from Studio 6B, Real America's Voice. And Slick says we're not across the airways of 103.9 because the Islanders are playing tonight. Yep. So just Real America's Voice. And, of course, all of our socials. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe on whatever social you're watching on. We do appreciate it. Head over to livefromstudio6b.com. And make sure you sign up as a member there. Join the loyalty program. A lot of you did. I gave points last night to everybody who was signed up because I can do that. And I might do it again tonight, especially when the chat's very active. I'm trying to figure out a way to get points for the chats as well. So if you're active in chat, like once you type something once every certain amount of seconds, I'm trying to work something out where you get points for that too. But I don't know. We're a little ways away from that. But we're going to try to make it so you can earn lots of points and use it for cool stuff. So What are we doing? We're doing the news. Yeah. Let's go to Vinny Matt. What? What's the problem? It's been a long day. I'm kind of all over the place. But I'm having fun.
Who am I and why am I here?
It's a nice show tonight.
You're like, oh, I've been up early. What's early for you?
Oh, well,
I was up at 6.
If you go to bed at 10:30 and you nap 3 hours a day with your milk in
I went to bed at 1:30 and got up at 6.
Right.
And I've been here or in a basketball game ever since.
I get up at...
and tomorrow will be the same thing.
You didn't take your nap?
I go to bed at 12:30.
No, I've never taken.
I go to bed at 12:30. I wake up at 4.
Wow.
I could never do that.
And you nap for what?
You take a 4-hour nap.
No, I take a 1-hour nap.
Get out of here.
Well, that's 1 hour more than me. Vinny Mac's got some news. What's on your mind, Vinny Mac?
I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I just want to let you know that. Speaking of this FBI stuff, by the way, I heard about the shooter, the 20-year-old kid arrested in Butler. That their FBI's withholding information there too.
Big article in the New York Post about that. Yep.
Yeah. The Post covered it, and they're saying they're not. I don't understand this. I just don't understand the FBI and the lies. But what's on my mind right now? I read today that Israel and Hamas are starting to begin negotiations again for another ceasefire and to release hostages. And I'm going to go out on a limb here because. I just do not like the entire situation. I don't like the idea of releasing 4 hostages in exchange for 120 terrorists that are getting back into the army of Hamas, who are eventually going to fight Israel again, because at some point this thing's going to boil up. As I thought about this, trying to be compassionate for the hostages and trying to envision if one of my loved ones was a hostage, I'd want them released based on anything. But the reality is these are really evil people. Look at what they did to those 2 little kids. They've paraded their caskets around. They literally celebrated the killing of these kids. Not just Hamas, the people of Gaza, the Palestinians. They celebrated this. So what do you do? And in my view, I think we've got to dial it up a lot more. I think we have to go full on with Iran and threaten them. That if the hostages are just not released, 100% of them, by this certain date, we're holding you responsible.
Didn't we do that, though?
We did not. We said that we have to release some hostages. Trump did that. Then Israel intervened, and they cut some deal, and Trump backed off because he wanted to get them talking. He did the right thing. He started the fire. But at this point, I think his initial instinct was, all hell's going to break loose if you don't release them all. He pulled back. I think he was right. I think we have to take a position like that, but we have to take that position with Iran. They're the ones behind Hamas. What's going to happen is they've released hundreds of terrorists, of Hamas terrorists. Those terrorists are simply going back into the field. That's all they know. All these people know is kill Jews. That's it. There's no other rhyme or reason for their lives. They exist to hate them. And when you have that level of hate, I just releasing 2 or 3 and then releasing 100 and all this is going to go on for 2 years at the rate they're going. So I just was thinking about it today, and I'm getting upset about it because I don't think we're doing enough. I think we have to come in with the sledgehammer now, and the United States needs to perhaps lead that and say, look, Israel, you're responsible. Hamas, we're going to now, work with Israel. If you don't release all the hostages, we're just going to come in and annihilate the whole place. I mean, I don't know what else to do, and we might lose hostages, and that's the risk, and nobody wants to take that risk. But I feel like we're going to lose them anyhow.
Of course, the most important thing you said and of course, this is where the media tries to play the American people for, is that somehow that there's this distinction between Hamas and then other people who live there. And maybe there are some, but the majority of people who live there, who occupy there, are either Hamas or are 100% supportive of what they do, knowingly what they do, they know where they are, they know where the hideouts are, they know what buildings they use as cover, they know what they run as cover, they know there's no such thing as humanitarian aid when it comes in, they know what happens with that. They are all supportive and on board.
I completely agree with that, and that's part of what just gets me so upset because I know that all of that's going on. And I also know it's all just based on decades of hatred in grammar school, in high school, and in every way of life. They are trained and educated and brainwashed to hate the Jews. Hamas has gotten away with not just murder. This wasn't just a raid and taken hostages and shot a bunch of people. This is not what that was. These were some of the most horrific assassinations of people, things that even the Holocaust looks good compared to what they did to some of these people. It was at every bit on that level, if not worse. So I just feel like if you're dealing with evil, and to the point that you make, Damon, which is a holistic point, which is the people are as culpable as Hamas. I mean, the citizens of this, I don't even know, it's not a country. I don't even know what Gaza is. I don't even know what to call it. But the people are as culpable. And if you have that kind of dynamic, where are we going with this? We just have to draw a line in the sand and destroy them. And if their financiers Iran, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time we take that risk and just let Iran have it. Maybe it's time to take out the nuclear facilities. Maybe it's time to do a lot of stuff there. But something stronger has to happen here. I mean, do you feel like I do? Are you as outraged about it? Or you think like, hey, you know what? And I can understand the compassion. I want hostages released too. I'm with you. As a matter of fact, President Trump was asked this today in his in the Oval when he was there with the Prime Minister Starmer, whoever it was. Somebody said something to him, in essence, basically saying, hey, you said all hell's going to break loose. They've pretty much given you the big middle finger. What's going on? He was asked this today. What did he say? Well, he says that basically he throws it into Israel's lap. I get the fact that he's now released the gloves that Israel had on them, right? They had serious gloves with the Biden administration. He's released them. However, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Mr. President, if you're watching, I think you got to do more on this one. Yeah.
Well, I go back to something he said, few months back. He doesn't think there's any hostages left alive.
That's a whole nother thing.
When was the last time we saw a live hostage released? We haven't. We've only seen bodies released recently, right?
Well, we saw the first 4, I guess, right? When they first cut the deal. And
last week.
Do you remember we had this discussion when they cut the deal? How the deal was terrible.
Yeah.
I said it. This is not a Trump deal.
No.
It's not a Trump deal. This is a Biden crap deal. It's a crap sandwich that they had to swallow, or at least to some degree, because they weren't in full control of it at the time. But now they are in full control.
Evil only responds to one thing: destruction. You have to use the most vile means to take out evil people. We have seen it throughout history. And so we hopefully learned our lesson with the Holocaust.
All right, that's a wrap. Hour 1, sports news coming up. Here's my 2 big questions going into hour 2. Who prepared the binders? And who approved the binders? We want names.
The FBI calls it house stealing, the latest scam where a cyber thief transfers the title of your home out of your name and steals your hard-earned equity.
It's roughly 60 to 90 days for that person to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. You start getting foreclosure notices and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house that you didn't even know existed.
Unfortunately, it's on you to protect yourself. You might already be a victim. Check your title status now at HomeTitleLock.com.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Are you having trouble hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids. Don't be fooled by overpriced hearing aids. Prescription hearing aids could cost $3,000 or more. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Call now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
You asked, and we heard you, America.
Real America's Voice is coming to iHeartMedia.
Yes, Real America's Voice is now breaking through the white noise of the mainstream media.
Just download the iHeart app, and you'll have all of us right at your fingertips.
Scan the QR code and start streaming RAV anywhere you want.
Real America's Voice, available whenever you need us.
It's never been easier to stay connected with the voices you trust.
RAV on iHeart means you can take us with you wherever you go.
This is huge. The truth on iHeart. Ready whenever you are. From Charlie Kirk to Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec to Grant Stinchfield, you'll find all your favorite RAV hosts in one place.
You can listen on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, or Amazon. RAV is now available everywhere you get your podcasts. All you need to do is scan the QR code right now.
Download the iHeart app today and get ready for Real America's Voice.
Scan the QR code and join the RAV movement.
About 9 o'clock on the East Coast, live from Studio 6B, Hour 2. Glad you're in. Slick's going to do some more sports. Vinnie Mac's here. He's got some news and some thoughts on some things. Delgado's doing the news. So a lot of questions about, do you have a what even is that for tomorrow that I'm not going to screw up if I'm not here?
Nope.
No, I'm going to be here. I'm going to not be here Tuesday, though.
Okay.
Well, at least I'm going to be late next Tuesday because that's game number 2, round 2 of the playoffs.
They've run the picket fence.
Right. As we make our run for the county championship.
Yeah.
I won't be here, though.
You are not be here Tuesday.
No, I won't be here Wednesday.
Slick won't be here Wednesday, and Delgado won't be here Friday.
What's going on here?
And Vin won't be here at all.
Yeah. What the hell is going on here?
Paul Nolan, 5 nights.
People think I'm the tropical depression. This is what I deal with.
Yeah. Oh,
what
come
you
on.
deal with?
I think I missed one show in the last month and a half.
I know, really. At least I give you a heads up.
I have to get a manicure.
We show up as like, oh, where's Damon? I don't know.
He's at a basketball game.
He says he'll be late.
Yeah, I'll be late.
He bounced on us.
Yeah. He's late on a Friday, and the next time we see him is Monday.
Oops, double dribble.
Come on, Big D.
Come on, Slickster. So, next week's going to be totally dysfunctional, but that's fine. Paul Nolan is going to host the show on Tuesday.
Hello.
So it'll be a normal week, is what you're saying.
There you go.
Kevin Downey Jr. will be here Tuesday. Vin will maybe sit in remotely.
Yeah, I'll be.
Because you're going to be in Florida.
I'll be undisclosed location. Wherever that is.
Wherever that is.
The key of life.
Exactly.
I'll be in an undisclosed location, a secret hideaway.
Yes, exactly. So no what even is that tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm shooting for Monday.
Shooting for Monday?
Yes.
Okay, shooting for Monday. Damon, bring in Farmer Brooke and David Syverson. Oh, that. Whoa.
Hello.
Hello.
Come on, fly him in, Big D.
If you're on socials, make sure you hit the like and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. the finest audience in television, that would be the one on this show.
That's right.
I want to thank everybody for watching on whatever platform you're on, and the numbers continue to grow, and the streaming numbers have been great this week. Head over to livefromstudio6b.com as well, by the way. Sign up to be a member there, absolutely free. Take part in our new loyalty program. You can earn points for free merch and maybe free tickets if we do some live events. I really enjoyed our election night coverage over at the America's First Warehouse.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was great, right?
Yeah.
It's a great space.
Do another live audience,
and I want to do a lot. Thank you, Vin.
Did I just say that?
Thank you, Vin.
Vin, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to. I'm sure it's going to happen.
He doesn't like to leave his house.
Damon?
He wants to leave his studio. Come on, stop.
Come on. Is this true, Damon? You got a coffee now. You should be very sharp.
Look how many times we've been on the road with this show.
Exactly. I mean, the last time we went out was we did that show in. Remember, we were doing the Rav Open. Oh, that's right. That never happened.
Yes. And then we were going to Tennessee. But they wouldn't allow us in the theaters because we were right wingers.
I think we should do a live show. I know Damon wants to do it, and then we need our audience there. And maybe some of our audience from out of town will fly in and join us.
Oh, election night we were out on the road, though. We did go out on the road on election night. He took us out.
Damon, do you want to share?
I took them out. I bought steak dinners.
Slick still,
steak sandwiches.
I know. He's still paying that off.
Slick still paying off the steak dinners from election.
I wrote it off. Hey, at least it shows I got steak in the show, right?
Man, they were good, though.
It was great.
Oh, they were good. Come on, Slickster. Break out the old gold card.
That was good. Best steak sandwiches I had.
Yeah,
then we were going to go to Flobama. No, that didn't work out.
It's not called Flobama.
What's it called? Flobama.
Flobama, Florida and Alabama.
Yes.
Right. Flobama. Who's your favorite president?
That was good. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the problem.
Here it comes.
You want to know the real problem is? The problem is that I talk about these things.
Yeah.
Shut up, all of you. I talk about these things because I like to get input from everybody, including the audience.
Yeah.
And I probably should just shut up.
And you get lots of great input. Because people get excited. Some people like, oh, you know what? I have time coming off. If you're doing it that week, I'll do my. They'll just take some time off. They'll do the drive.
That's fine. Okay, so I've learned my lesson. New rule going into effect right here on a Thursday night, February 27th. New rule.
Yep.
I will no longer speak of any events outside of our regular show here, 8 to 10 in studio, until there is been a deposit made and the reservations are in, and it's an absolute go. I will not say anything to the audience or to you guys until it's a go.
All right.
Come on.
We're never going to go anywhere.
I like talking about it.
So you'll just tell us to report to some state somewhere at some point in time?
Yeah, well, because look what this gets me. This gets me made fun of for months after nothing works out.
You have the right intentions. That's what we're going with this. You have the right intentions and the right vision.
Oh, stop kissing his butt.
This entire show.
He's not going to bring you either.
Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Can you pass the feta cheese, please? Thank you. Yeah.
5 minutes past the hour. Let's do some more news. I don't feel like we've done enough here.
Yeah, what's going on with Epstein?
Rick Delgado. Who put the binders together and who approved the binders? Those are the two questions we need answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Are they the same person? Would be my first question. Do you think?
I don't know.
No, of course not. Why do I ask you the question if I already have the answer, I wonder? My wife does that to me.
Well, that's because she always has the answer.
Rhetorical question.
Yes.
Uh-oh. I'm not touching this one.
Let's see here. Ken B 412. I don't like Damon. He slow walks information and promotes goofing off too much with our him. Delgado, Paul, Vinny, Slick gives it to you straight. The show is great without Damon.
Wait a minute.
Ken B 412 on Rumble.
That's not right. Damon is our fearless leader. What are you talking about?
Oh my God! I think that's Rick's handle on social. I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Delgado's alias Ken B 412 on Rumble. The show is great without Damon.
Oh wow! Let me tell you, there'd be no show.
Many people concur with that thought.
All right.
Well, we got a nice super chat too, Big D. $49.99 from G-Dog. Nice chat there. How is USAID manager Samantha Power not being charged for conspiracy to commit treason and racketeering along with all of her other co-conspirators? Bondi can teach Fannie how it's supposed to be done when there are actual crimes. Nice one there, G-Dog.
Hello.
Thank you for that one.
Okay, very good.
That's good.
All right, 7 past the hour. I said we were going to do some more news. Let's do it. Delgado's got it. What's going on?
All right. Well, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is in the news after he, of course, the cabinet meeting with President Trump yesterday. I guess afterwards, President Trump challenged him to come up with a new way to save some money. And he of course, the next day, which was today, he was asked, okay, what do you got for me? Here is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick talking about a new idea that he came up with for the Postal Service in hopes of saving the Postal Service and saving billions of dollars. Cut 7, check this out.
So the concept was I'm sitting with the president and the costs of the post office are like it loses $7 billion. And he said, can you do something with it? And I said, sure. So I saw him the next day, he goes, okay, what do you got? He gives me a whole 24 hours to figure it out. And I said, well, the Commerce Department does the census. And we spend $40 billion every 10 years doing the census. And that means we hire 625,000 people. And they go and they rent cars and gas and you pay them food. And you know what they do? They go to every household in America and count the people. What department do we already have that already employs 625,000 people? It's got cars, already has gas, goes to every household. Can you imagine saying to your postman, can you count the people in the house? What day could he do the census? Monday? Could he double check it on Tuesday? How about Wednesday? He goes every day. So we can only save $40 billion or $4 billion a year, and we'll do a better job. And you know what else we can do with the post office? They can go to your house when you have a baby and give you the form for Social Security. And the 20,000 Social Security offices that we have, we just don't need them. We actually can do real customer service. Go right to your house. Someone died. Here's the forms. You can fill it out. Nice. I'll bring them to your house. Customer service. Why? Because we've got those people. Let's use the assets of the government to make us better and save us money. We can be smart, We're allowed.
Yeah. So there you have it. Kind of thinking out of the box kind of thing that CEOs demand of their people. Right?
Yeah.
I love it.
If you don't mind, can I just mention something about Howard?
Sure.
So I grew up in a town about 40 minutes outside of the city, in Manhasset, financial town.
Great town.
Most of the guys that worked on Wall Street worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. Oof. And of course, I was quite friendly with many of them. And they all got killed at 9/11.
Right.
This guy, what this guy did, what this guy represents, one, wiped out his firm, he rebuilt it, but he took care of all those families who lost people at 9/11. He is an amazing man.
Yeah.
He does not get anywhere near the credit. I mean, I love what he's doing here with this administration, but I just wanted to interject with that because
I didn't know that story.
I have personal experience. I lost a lot of friends that work there too, and they all seem to work at Cantor Fitzgerald, and what he did for those families is nothing short of miraculous. The guy should be sainted, frankly, because it wasn't just helping 10 families. You're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of families that he stopped his life and helped and rebuilt the firm. So, Howard, you're a good man. So sorry about that. Just wanted to interject.
No, that's
Howard.
all right. Because that's his background, and that's part of why Donald Trump asked him to come and join the administration.
Yeah.
Because he's got that attitude of getting things done.
Yep.
So great to see. Speaking of Donald Trump, he of course was doing the press conference with the UK Prime Minister. How do you pronounce his name? Sturmer.
Right on Sheshwell.
Prime Minister Sturmer. Sturmer.
Yes.
Oh, Sturmer.
So here he is talking about taking a question from one of the reporters inquiring about NATO and the Ukraine. Here's cut number 10. Here's Trump's answer on that. Check this out.
The Europeans want Ukraine to be part of NATO as part of this deal. Are you willing to budge on that at all, or is it a firm?
Well, I could be very nice and say, oh, well, we'll work to it. Look, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That's what started this whole thing. Biden said that, and all of a sudden the gun started. That was one of the primary reasons this started. And this was long before President Putin They never said it was an impossibility. So we can say, oh, gee, well, we'll try, but that's something that's just not going to happen. And then the other question I ask is about the land. Will you get your land back? Well, they've fought long and hard on the land, and you and I will be discussing that, and we're going to certainly try and get as much as we can back. But on the NATO, it's just not, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so there he is talking about Ukraine's desire to join NATO. It's not going to happen no matter what. And here he is accepting an invitation to the UK. Believe it or not, this is, I guess, a first ever. Cut number 9. Check this out.
Very importantly, I was just notified by letter from King Charles that he's extended through the Prime Minister a historic second state visit to the United Kingdom. And that's a great honor because it's never happened before. One person has never been extended that honor, and I really do call it an honor, but it's not for me, it's for our country. It's respect for our country. So I just want to thank you, and I want to thank King Charles. Thank you very much, and we accept. I don't know if the media is going to follow us. I have a feeling they might. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There you have it. Yeah. Historic second state visit by President Donald Trump to the UK.
It makes you proud, doesn't it?
All right, live from Studio 6B, 13 past the hour. We'll do some sports with Slick, some more news with Vinnie Mac, all coming up right after this.
Anybody who owns property should worry about home title theft. There's no other crime that is so easy, so quick, and so lucrative.
Your home, your equity, and your peace of mind can all be stolen in one fell swoop by home title thieves like Matthew Cox.
Nobody thinks that I can take their house. Nobody thinks that.
Believe it or not, a single-page document is all it takes to transfer proof of ownership out of your name.
People think there's a whole huge process, but the truth is, it's a one-page document.
But it still must get through one final barrier, the county clerk.
When someone comes in with a fraudulent deed, if it's notarized and all the spaces are filled in, we by statute have to accept it. We cannot give it back to them and say, we know this is fraudulent, we're not going to file it. That's against the law.
It's public records. It's a recording system. They don't make a phone call, they record it, that's all they do.
Bottom line is, yes, it happens, and we can't stop it from happening, and it only takes once for it to sting you, and it's a very sad thing to watch.
You put your love into the house, and all of a sudden, it might not be yours. It's a devastating crime.
For pennies a day, Home Title Lock will monitor your title nonstop, alerting you to suspicious activity.
If you can get a warning notice that this first step has happened, you can stop the rest.
This person from somewhere in New York stole our property. So I was surprised. I talked to my father about it. He advised me that he had taken out Home Title Lock about 8 months earlier. We logged into Home Title Lock. He had 5 alerts. Immediately we contacted them, and within about 2 weeks, the deed was put back in my parents' name.
If you give us a call right now and mention promotional code LOCKIT, we'll give you your first 30 days of protection absolutely free.
Home Title Lock lived up to every promise they made.
Go online or call now, 1-800-493-1175, and sign up today.
If anyone has told you that gaining weight, feeling tired, and struggling with nagging digestive and joint issues is just a part of getting older, they are wrong. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and after years of struggling with these same issues, I found a new way to support my health at home by making one simple change to my diet. It's called BioComplete 3. BioComplete 3 works by restoring your gut health from the inside out. This is a major part of how I lost 70 pounds and have kept the weight off for 25 years. It's not just me. This is working for everybody. Joe helped his gut health, and you can see the changes, not just how he looks on the outside, but how much better he felt on the inside.
I was 270. I'm now 140. It just feels amazing. Thank you, Dr. Gundry.
I helped all these people achieve incredible changes to their weight, their digestion, even their skin. And for a limited time, you can try BioComplete 3 risk-free for 90 days. Go to guthealthsecret.com.
If you've seen the news from economists, they're forecasting a depression. I said depression, not a recession. A depression by the year 2030. We're in the perfect storm as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, with the largest generation hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. Pair that with a growing national debt and rising cost of living, and you've got yourself a recipe for a disaster, or at least a huge problem. So what are you going to do now to protect your family for the future? Well, as I've been telling you, gold is a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it won't cost you one single penny out of pocket to do it. Protect your future today with gold. Text America to the number 989898. Get your free information kit on gold and get a copy of The Ultimate Guide to Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword written by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, only information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. You can count on them too. Text America to the number 989898 and do it today. All right, 18 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night. Slick's going to do some sports. It's brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Slickster, what's going on?
All right, Big D, I want to get to this video we have here. Mayweather praises Trump, best president we ever had. Dylan Gwynn at Breitbart. Boxing legend Floyd Mayweather visited Fox Business on Wednesday. He lavished praise on President Trump, calling him the greatest president we ever had. Appearing on Making Money with Charles Payne, the founder and head of the Money Team, that's the TMT, the fighter who ended his career with an undefeated 50-0 record, told viewers why he believes Trump is undefeated when ranked among other U.S. presidents. Roll that cut, Aaron. Cut 6.
In America, we're never happy. At least I'm happy, but we're never happy. When we had Trump before, we didn't appreciate him. But I think Trump is a great president. He's the best president in my eyes. He's the best president we ever had. Great businessman, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and the way the days cabinet thing, you probably went around here. It was really phenomenal. To the point you talked about, team, putting together a great team.
Yes,
put together a fantastic cabinet.
Trump has done an amazing job, and a lot of people around America are upset. But no matter who goes in the White House, we're always upset.
Right.
And I think Trump is the man for the job. He's the best president in my eyes.
Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest to do it. Money Mayweather also knows a thing or two about being a great businessman. The former fighter and promoter has a reported net worth of $1.2 billion and has recently put together a bid to purchase a 10% minority ownership share in the New York Giants, valued at $700 million. So not bad. They come up with $70 million to be a 10% owner. Maybe they could suit him up and get him on the field a little bit there. We'll see what they do with their first pick. But yeah, Mayweather, actually a kid that used to work for me in the pharmacy years ago, went to work in Vegas, and he ran into him in a convenience store, and he was just picking up a couple of items. Mayweather comes over to him, peels off about $400,000 or $500 and goes, "Here, this is for you. Everybody's got to eat, man." He knew him from the hotel. How cool is that? Just a generous guy, great businessman. 50-0. I would like to see him fight some of the greater fighters a little before his generation. There was a couple of middleweight guys I would like to see, and some lightweight guys, light welterweights. But you got to say he's done a great job. He's done an even better job out of the ring, because we know the story of boxers. How many of these guys, right? They have these great careers and they end up penniless. Look at Evander Holyfield, right? A big mansion in Atlanta, all kinds of money. They have to go and do like what Tyson did, get on a crazy pay-per-view and fight one of these crazy fights here. And so it's good to see a guy like that keeping his wits and his money. And by the way, he kept his record intact too at 50-0. So pretty cool stuff. And that's a wrap in sports.
He's a great business guy too. He's invested in a lot of
$1.2 billion.
deals.
He did it right.
Yeah. 1.2 bill seems a little light for Money May. Is that what the number is?
That's $1 billion. 1.2 billion.
Seems a little light.
Come on.
For Floyd.
I think it's good money.
I didn't say I don't think he's not worrying about where his next meal's coming from, Slick. I get it.
He had a couple of $100 million fights, but that's you'd have to have. We would have had to have 12 of them to have 1.2 billion. I mean, so I didn't have 12 of those kind of fights. He might have had, I don't know, maybe 5 fights like that where he made with Pacquiao, maybe 5 or 6, fights like that.
All right,
I would think.
All right, 21 past the hour. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Vinny Mac is here as well. He's got some news. Before I get to that, though, you mentioned this before, Vinny, and we didn't get really into it, but I want to get into this because, again, another example of maybe not the new and current FBI, but does the FBI do anything other than suppress information would be the question. Headline in the New York Post today: would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crooks may have had an accomplice, data shows, as investigators say the FBI suppressing info. It's been almost 9 months since a seemingly mild-mannered 20-year-old attempted to assassinate then-Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, and we still have no good reason why. Sources told the Post the FBI has obfuscated efforts to solve the mystery of why Thomas Matthew Crooks, who left no manifesto, did what he did. It's left law enforcement, as well as Crooks' former friends, classmates, and teachers, frustrated. Those who may know Crooks' parents, Matthew and Mary, have refused all interviews and remain in their small 3-bedroom home, sealed off from the world like hermits. Neighbors say they only leave the house at 3 a.m. to buy groceries. By the way, why do we know nothing about the guy in Butler? Elon Musk said the other day. He yelled out to an audience at the Conservative Political Action Conference last week before warning that FBI Director Kash Patel is going to get to the bottom of it. Veteran private investigator from Erie, Pennsylvania, who was hired shortly after the fateful July 13th event at Butler, was hired to look into Crooks, by a private client. He told the Post he believes a criminal network was operating with him at the time of the assassination attempt, is still in existence, and still wants to kill President Trump. Doug Hackman, whose team of 6 other investigators have been working the case for months and have interviewed more than 100 people, said they also conducted extensive geofencing analysis of cell phones and tablets not belonging to Crooks that were found with him at his home, at the rifle range where he took target practice, at the rally, and at Bethel Park High School where he graduated in 2022. We don't think he acted alone, Hackman told the Post. This took a lot of coordination. In my view, Crooks was handled by more than one individual, and he was used for this assassination attempt. And I wouldn't preclude the possibility that there were people at the rally itself helping him. Hackman said one of the electronic devices geolocated with Crooks at several different places at the time of the shooting is still pinging today at Bethel Park High School. Crooks perched on a rooftop. We know what happened there. Fired 8 shots. The autopsy reports indicate Crooks was pronounced dead at 6:25. Gunshot wound to the head by a counter sniper. Hackman said he was personally escorted to the Butler County line and told to leave twice during the course of his team's investigation. The people who did so were either federal agents or some type of private security. And this goes on then to talk about the FBI. I don't need to go through the whole thing. It's probably better if you read it. It's on our socials now. But the hell's going on here?
There's no excuse for this. There's no excuse for this.
And Representative Clay Higgins is still investigating this, as he has been for months.
I know Trump had asked for all this information, but there's 2 things here. One, there's no excuse for this. And 2, it's only because this kid was a bad shot. I mean, the chances of Trump surviving were so small because this was not a hard shot that we had a miracle that happened in Butler, and we don't have any information as to why this happened or who's involved. By the way, if it was just this kid, okay, put it to bed. Tell us that. Investigate it. Tell us this is kid. But there's some smoke here.
26 past the hour. Live from Studio 6B. More news, sports, all coming up on a Thursday night. And, of course, you in the chat, social media. We're back right after this.
My name is Darvin.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Jackie.
And we switched to Consumer Cellular.
My previous provider was terrible.
Surprise, we've changed your rate.
We wouldn't get to talk to a person.
And then all of a sudden it disconnects.
Now with Consumer Cellular, no problems.
Better customer service. They tell me exactly what I'm paying and why I'm paying for it.
It's within $1 of being half of my old bill.
With Verizon, I was paying about $150 a month. With Consumer Cellular, I'm paying about half that.
Okay, this is doable. This is affordable.
I'm getting the exact same coverage for half the price. That's a beautiful thing.
Done deal.
I got to keep my phone. I got to keep my number.
Switching over took about 20 minutes. That's it.
It's month to month, very simple.
It's been amazing.
I was now a Consumer Cellular customer.
And I've been bragging to my friends about it too.
Call 1-800-726-2125.
To switch and save up to half with Consumer Cellular. Plus, new customers can save $25 when they switch today.
When the kids turn unholy, Harrelson's Own keeps my patience divine.
When work flies out of control, Harrelson's Own keeps me cool as a cucumber.
The device madness never ends, but Harrelson's Own keeps me zen.
Life can be chaotic, but Harrelson's Own CBD helps keep you calm through any storm. Harrelson's Own consistently delivers you full mind and body homeostasis. It's an organic, full-spectrum CBD in a refreshing oral spray. Our nano-emulsified technology makes it completely water-soluble, so your body absorbs it immediately. You'll start to feel it in seconds, not 60 minutes. It just makes everything feel better.
And it helps me just take the edge off. It helps me relax. It helps me be there with my kids.
I swear I'm like a mental ninja. Like nothing can throw me off balance.
No matter how many things come at me, I'm like, boom, handled, next. I'm like crushing it all day long.
Well, some people take it for a release from stress. Some take it to get rid of pain. Others just take it for general well-being. For me, Brett Harrelson, it just makes everything about my day a little better.
Give your life a boost.
It's just the best you've ever felt in your natural state.
My happiness in a bottle is the best.
So to sum it all up, you're going to feel the benefits quickly, love the way it feels, and like the way it tastes. Pay a fair price, and you're going to thank us for it. We are so confident you're going to be satisfied that we back every bottle with a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Give Harrelson's Own a try, from our family to yours. Go to HO.com to order Harrelson's Own now. Yep, it's that easy. Just our initials, HO.com.
All right, 30 minutes past the hour, live from Studio 6B, Real America's Voice, on a Thursday night. Glad you're in. Slick Rick is here. He's doing sports. Rick Delgado's doing the news. Vinnie Mac's doing the news. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. We'll get to some more news and sports before we wrap up the show. But please welcome back to the show right now the Chief of Disaster and Emergency Medicine over at the Wellness Company, Dr. Kelly Victory. Dr. Victory, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, as always, for having me.
It's always great to have you. Thanks for a few moments. Let me ask you about the let me start with the flu, because, obviously we're in the seasonal flu. The time is, we've had a couple guys on the show. Kevin Downey Jr., who's not here tonight, he had it. He was out of commission for 2 weeks with this thing this year. I mean, really knocked him for a loop. I know others that's happened to. Cases are rising all over the country. What do you think is fueling this seemingly stronger flu that when you get it, boy, it's been really bad? Worse than people who I know who have had coronavirus. Way worse.
Well, to be clear, influenza is both seasonal and cyclic, meaning we normally do see an uptick around this time of year, the colder months when people are indoors, have less exposure to natural sunlight, they're in closer quarters. So it's seasonal. On top of that, it's cyclic. We do have years that are worse than others in relatively recent history: 1957, 1968, 2003, 2009, 2017. There are bad years, and we have sometimes as many as 50,000 associated deaths from influenza. All of that said, I think the reasons for this year may be multifaceted. You have to remember that people's immune system took a pretty significant hit during the COVID pandemic as a result of the misguided mitigation schemes, things like locking people indoors, limiting their exposure to sunlight. People got far less exercise than they would have routinely gotten. People were under overwhelming stress. They were eating, takeout, and nutrition was down. Then you add on top of that the fact that about 80% of all Americans took at least one of the mRNA genetic therapies for COVID, and we know that those injections suppressed people's immune response. We have study after study proving it. So I think that there's a multifaceted explanation for why we're seeing a particularly vigorous outbreak of influenza. That said, we have not had a tremendous number of deaths associated. There are simple, easy things that people can do to decrease their risk of getting it. Everything from using simple nasal sprays and oral rinses, and then obviously we have many medications that are very safe and simple to treat influenza should you get it. I am not a proponent personally of the influenza vaccines. I've never taken one in my life. In a good year, it might be as much as 50% effective. Many years, it's well less than 20% effective, and it does not come without some significant risks. So I am personally not a proponent of influenza vaccines, although I know that many of the elderly in particular are recommended to take them.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but the medical establishment continues to push them, right? Even though they're seemingly, on any given year, really not very effective, and seemingly this year, really not effective.
Yeah, we've gone down this really unadvisable rabbit hole where people all of a sudden believe that you can vaccinate your way to good health. We simply don't need a new vaccine for every virus that is out there. We would do far better, from my perspective, paying attention to being good stewards of our overall health and wellness, getting back to the basics that will make sure that your immune system is capable of functioning and fighting off viruses and bacteria when they come along. Things like regular exercise, adequate sleep, good nutrition, stress mitigation, the sorts of things that our parents and grandparents did before it was, here's a new vaccine for every new pathogen that comes along.
Yeah. Speaking of vaccines, let's stay on that topic. RFK obviously now in. I feel like if it was solely up to him, the first thing he would do is pull the COVID mRNA vaccine off the market. I don't know where the president is. I feel like the president is slowly coming along to this idea. Where do you think he is? And obviously, I'm assuming you agree with RFK that should be pulled from the market. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree with that, and there are tens of thousands of scientists and physicians who would support that. The data are irrefutable. The mRNA shots for COVID not only didn't prevent COVID, but they've done untold harm. They didn't prevent people from contracting COVID. They didn't prevent the transmission of COVID. And in fact, we have many studies now that prove that the more highly vaccinated you are for COVID, the more likely you are to actually contract the virus. In other words, it's negative efficacy. The numbers of harms, including, unfortunately, deaths, have mounted. We're continuing to see issues, cardiac issues, autoimmune issues, neurologic issues related to these shots. I think they are long past when they should have been fully pulled from the market. I do know that Robert Kennedy Jr. Would like to see that happen ultimately. He's taking a measured approach and getting the input from lots and lots of experts, and hopefully that will happen ultimately.
Finally, is there anything the public needs to know about the bird flu and about agriculture when it comes to the bird flu? I saw that Joel Salatin, one of the nation's leading freedom-fighting agriculture experts, said we don't need another vaccine for bird flu and chickens with natural immunity he's talking about. Is there anything the public, what do they need to know about this?
Well, I've been saying for months that bird flu, specifically H5N1, poses, it does not pose an appreciable threat to the average American. It really has only affected people in direct contact with sick birds or sick cows. And those people who have contracted it have had extraordinarily mild symptoms. If there's anything people need to know, however, it's that we right here in the United States, ill-advisedly, there are laboratories that have been doing gain-of-function research on this virus, specifically the USDA lab in Athens, Georgia, and multiple scientific labs, including the University of Wisconsin. And their specific goal in this gain-of-function research is to try to make bird flu more transmissible human to human. Now, why in the world someone would do that is beyond me, unless it's because of this obsession that they have with creating and launching a new vaccine. We have got to stop this gain-of-function research. Currently, there is no risk to the average American who isn't in contact with these infected animals because human-to-human transmission has been zero. But if if one of these lab-modified versions of the virus gets out, then all bets are off.
Yeah, here we go again. Dr. Victory, always great to have you on the show. Of course, you can go to twc.health/voice, twc.health/voice, promo code VOICE. If you want to look at their gold standard kits for whether it's a trip to the beach or trip to overseas, or if you're looking just to proactively fight against the flu, that's what I do with an ivermectin a week. Dr. Victory, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, 38 past the hour, live from Studio 6B. Again, you can go to twc.health/voice for the wellness company and check out their prescription kits for whatever you need. So 38 past the hour, let's do some more news. Rick Delgado's got it. What's going on, Delgado?
All right, well, bouncing off of what you guys were just talking about there with Dr. Victory, we're all going to be winners with Megyn Kelly, except that she's now claiming that she is also been affected by the COVID vaccine, which left her with an autoimmune condition. According to her, Kelly, 54, said she was left with an autoimmune condition after receiving the 2-shot regimen of the Pfizer vaccine and then the follow-up booster back in 2021 as the Omicron variant arrived in New York City. According to her, she said this on her podcast, "I wish I hadn't done it, but I did," clarifying that doctors were unable to determine exactly what she was suffering from, but they told her it could well have been caused by the vaccine. "I asked my rheumatologist if it could be linked to the Pfizer vaccine and booster, and she said, yes, and you're not the only patient I have who has this sequence of events going on." Kelly was speaking with Dr. Azim Malhotra, a British COVID vaccine expert, actually skeptic, who is friends with the Department of Health and Human Services vax critic Robert F. Kennedy, and advised President Trump on disease mitigation. So, you talk about this this COVID vaccine and the ramifications of taking it. It spans just about everybody. Like she said, anybody who's taken it seems to have some type of problems attached to it.
Long COVID, the immune issue that she mentioned is a real thing. I mean, our immune systems took a real whack with the vaccine as much as anything, the virus aside. Yeah.
Speaking of Pfizer, fury erupts as Trump's drug chief quits to join Pfizer for a mega salary. A move that is slammed as a conflict of interest. Pfizer announced this week that Dr. Patricia Cavazzoni, former director of the FDA's Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, will join the company as its chief medical officer. The exact salary is unknown, but the suggestion of the position pays up to about $500,000 a year with before bonuses, and more than $400,000 per year than the president, of course. Good work. The move comes amid criticism with newly elected health chief Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who accused the FDA of being too beholden to the industry. And here's another example of it. Health experts told Daily Mail Dr. Cavazzoni's new post proves RFK Jr.'s point about the revolving door between the health agencies and Big Pharma. She held her position with the FDA from 2020 until last month, resigning just before President Trump returned to office, and the nomination of RFK Jr. as the Department of Health and Human Services secretary. So there you have it. But
she
here's
got a
another
boost in
note.
Salary.
Yeah, here's another note. Before she came to work for the government during the Biden administration, she worked for Pfizer. So there's that revolving door. She went from Pfizer to the government, now back to Pfizer.
That is the game. That's how they all become millionaires. Yeah. Even Calzoni over there, she pulled it off. Very impressive.
Yeah, exactly. One last thing here. A bit of bad news. Well, good news and bad news. For Fox News Gutfeld host Kat Tim.
Oh, I heard this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hours before giving birth, she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
That's terrible.
Luckily, she's been diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer.
Yeah, thank God.
But she's still been advised by doctors to get a double mastectomy as soon as possible. She told her followers on X not to worry because, according to her doctor, it is stage 0, which means that the cancer almost certainly has not spread. The National Breast Cancer Foundation stated on its website people with stage 0 have a high survival rate, claiming that the 5-year relative survival rate is approximately 99%. Still, it was not a chill day, she wrote. At least not for me. Then she made some jokes about the situation and, tried to keep a positive face, especially since she's giving birth.
She's young,
too.
Yeah,
very young, and very funny.
I like her.
She's the type you have to... I equate her to a Colin Quinn. You know Colin Quinn?
Sure.
Yep.
At first, I didn't get Colin Quinn. For a long time, I didn't understand Colin Quinn's comedy.
And Carrot Top. But
it took a while. It took a while. Once I got to understand Colin Quinn's comedy, then it clicked. Same with Kat Tim. You watch her enough, and then you start to see, I see what she's doing.
Very dry.
Yeah, she's very dry, very funny, very quick on the wit. So all the best to her. And what?
No, nothing. What do you mean, what?
Oh, what?
I'm listening to what you're saying.
This is all resonating with us.
You've gotten to the point where you're like, oh, I got it with her. I see it.
No, I understand it, yeah.
Okay.
It took me a while, because when I first came across her, I'm like, what makes her, why are people laughing? I'm not getting it.
I'm still at that stage.
Okay.
With you.
Stage 1.
But God bless her. I hope she gets well.
That's good.
Yes.
It's an absolute problem. It happens all of the time. If you own property and got equity, you can be a victim.
How can a scammer actually steal my home?
It's so easy for them to get the original document. They can download it and forge it. They begin to take out loans, and you're left holding the bag.
What can I do to protect my title?
Go to HomeTitleAct.com. We monitor your title and alert you if anything disturbs your title. Protect your home. You'll sleep better that night.
What if you could tackle your dog's itching, mushy poops, and low energy? Millions of pet parents are raving about Dr. Marty Nature's Blend.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues.
I'm Dr. Marty. I've been a veterinarian for more than 50 years. The dangerous ingredients added to many pet foods could be impacting your dog's lifespan. That's why I formulated Nature's Blend.
Now you can feed your dog wholesome cuts of real meat, vegetables, and fruit with no artificial preservatives or fillers. Try Dr. Marty risk-free. Go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me.
When you give today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
To the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night. Thanks for asking about my back, a lot of you. Back feels. What's so funny?
What? Nobody asked about your back.
Well, no, a lot of people have asked.
Wait a second.
Nobody asked.
A lot of people.
You're a misogynist.
Well, no, I know you three nerds didn't because you don't care.
Thank you for commenting on my new glasses.
You want me in much pain as possible, but at least a few people in the audience don't want me dead. They want to know how my back is.
I didn't say you would want to be dead.
Well,
I'm just telling them that it feels better. Not 100%, by the way.
Okay.
But he's out of sciatica.
Almost 3 weeks out, but certainly better. Racing Banshee. See, I asked about Damon's back. Another person, Allison, I asked about Damon's back.
See? Now they're all coming out of the wood.
Ann Miller, glad your back is better. Thank you very much. This is why I love the chat.
Yeah, they got your back.
Even
they sure do.
Even those who want to know if I'm the front or the back on the two-man pony thing.
No, you're the pony.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
All right, 12 minutes to the hour. Vinnie Mac's here. Vinnie Mac, what else is on your mind?
Oh, boy. I got one major thing on my mind that I feel is the impetus of the overall success of the Trump administration. This is the one thing that has to happen for Trump to be successful, because we have seen all of these rogue judges pop up. Like, why? Damon has mentioned this many times on the show. How does one judge have all this power to stop stuff? Finally, the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts, stepped in and he paused this money that Trump was holding back, and the Supreme Court has to take an active role now, not a small role. We have seen this happen. The first Trump administration, they just got these rogue judges to do dumb stuff that really weren't legal. They had to wait months and they get them overturned and they got to go appeal it. And the same thing's happening right now, except there's too much at stake right now. The Supreme Court must step up and be very aggressive here and almost lead an effort to marginalize these rogue George Soros-funded left-wing progressive judges that will simply rule just on their own partisanship. We've seen it over and over and over. Once in a while, an actual honest judge who's left-leaning sneaks through. We saw that with one of the rulings, right? I forgot the woman's name, but she mentioned it. She was a Jan 6 judge. She ruled in his favor because it made no sense.
Tanya Chutkin.
Tanya. So I guess my feeling overall is that the Supreme Court does not exert its power and really get involved in these things, we're going to have real issues. And it's not just this administration. The same thing is going to happen to other administrations. Like, you can't have one judge block these things. So the Supreme Court's got to figure this out. I don't think it's Congress's duty. I don't think it's anyone else's. This is the Supreme Court.
Well, you saw a little bit of that last night. Late last night, Chief Justice Roberts.
Yep. He stepped up.
Yeah. Put out this: upon consideration of the application of counsel for the applicants, it is ordered that the February 25th, 2025 orders of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia are hereby stayed pending further order of the undersigned or of the court. It is further ordered that any response to the application be filed on or about Friday, February 28th. And as our friend of the show, Josh Hammer, says, Chief Justice Roberts to lower court judicial insurrection, FAFO.
That's right. This is what has to happen. He needs to do more of it. So that's been on my mind for a while, and I'm wondering through the first month, where's the Supreme Court? Like, we're trying to save billions of dollars. They're trying to do a lot of stuff. Where are they? They can't be stopped. But, hey, kudos to him. And then the other thing that caught my eye, which is just sort of a stupid little funny thing, is this Jake Tapper story. Jake is now coming out with a book letting us all know that Joe Biden was unqualified and not, able to conduct business in the White House.
I retweeted it as he put it out, and I said, what chapter do you talk about yourself as the cover-up?
It is a level of hypocrisy that I don't think it's embarrassingly hypocritical for Jake Tapper to come out with this. He fought with Lara Trump, fought with her about Joe Biden's competency on air many times. She challenged it. Now he's coming out with a book. Trump gets in a couple of months, he's got a book coming out. It's just insane. This is why nobody trusts the media. They've lost their audience. People get fired at MSNBC. What's their rebuttal? Racism. This is all they got. They got nothing. They have no ratings. People aren't watching. They're not believing them. And then Jake Tapper comes out with this nonsensical thing. So it's just the irony of everything is quite remarkable. You couldn't make this up. If we were writing a script about a network you would say this is based on a true story, you'd be like, there's no way. It's not like that. It can't be that bad. It is. Yeah, so that's all I got.
All right, very good, Vinnie Mac. Delgado, I guess let's end the show where we began it. Tom began it, but when we first got to you and on the Epstein, and I don't know, I don't even follow this person, but Anthony Cabasa on Twitter says, here's a scoop. In talking with folks that attended the White House and sources at the White House, it appears today's Epstein files debacle is all the doing of a rogue AG Pam Bondi who did not coordinate the release with the White House or members of Congress. It was her idea alone to print the Epstein binders and hand them out to influencers who had been invited to the White House on a completely separate event with the White House press secretary. This is confirmed by people who received the binder in a complete surprise, quote unquote, to them by AG Pam Bondi. The White House, members of Congress, and even the DOJ and FBI had not been advised by AG Bondi about her plan to print old Epstein files in an attempt to pass them off as new information, print the binders, and send them influencers, journalists, all out in front of the press. Additionally, I'm told AG Bondi deliberately republished old Epstein files with President Trump's name on them. For what reason, no one is sure. White House has been doing damage control on behalf of AG Bondi since. This was at 9:05 p.m. He put this out. I'm going to subscribe to him and follow because I don't even follow him.
Wow.
And that's on my timeline. So what do you think of that?
I don't know. But this from...
It seems almost impossible to think that could be the way this went down.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm shocked to hear.
Hey, I have an idea.
I don't know.
She's way too qualified to do something like that. I'd be very surprised.
I just don't know. Anyhow, this from John Solomon's Just the News. This came out tonight, Thursday night. Kash Patel promises to uncover any hidden Epstein documents in a new pledge. The statement comes after Attorney General Pam Bondi gave Patel an ultimatum. Blah, blah, blah. He said Thursday night he's going to uncover all these hidden documents related to the late financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The statement comes after the Bondi ultimatum. The FBI is entering a new era, he said, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and unwavering pursuit of justice. If there are gaps, we will find them. If there are records hidden, we will uncover them. He continued, we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take to the Constitution under my leadership that I promise will be upheld without compromise. And again, there's a Friday morning 8 a.m. Deadline to turn over all the documents to Pam Bondi coming from the Bureau by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. on the dot.
The new AG went on Jesse Kelly last night. We played the clip on the air here, did a media tour about this, and we're now to believe that no one else knew about it?
Yeah, I don't believe that. Especially because she did say in that clip, a lot of it's going to be some of the old stuff. You might see some new things in there, but most of it is stuff that's already been out. She did say that on that clip.
Her email to Kash Patel does say it all. Hey, go get this stuff. Yeah. I didn't know it existed.
Luke Radowski, why did she orchestrate this whole PR blunder when she knew she had nothing?
Yep.
All right, 24 hours from now, we'll see where we are. 8 p.m. tomorrow night, but for now,
8 a.m.
Well, I know that, but we'll see what we have by 8 p.m. when we come on. As always, we salute our military, active and active, police, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, everybody on the front lines protecting us. Thanks, everybody on the show. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Fran. Most of all, thank you, live from Studio 6B audience. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. right here, live from Studio 6B.
right now. It could be harming your health. Back pain, stress, and serious health risks can build up from sitting too long. But motion changes everything. Introducing Ready Rocker with its patented Rock Perfect design that supports your spine as it helps improve posture, relieve back pain, boost circulation, and release endorphins for your overall well-being, no matter where you are. Lightweight, portable, and covered in memory foam, Ready Rocker instantly transforms any chair or space into a healthier sitting experience.
Sitting too long isn't just uncomfortable, it's unhealthy. With Ready Rocker, we make sitting a healthier experience for people of all ages.
From soothing babies to helping with posture, back pain, and stress, we discovered that rocking can truly improve lives.
Sitting is the new smoking. A sedentary lifestyle, whether you're sitting at a desk or in a vehicle all day, is not good for the body to just stay in that same position. And that's why the Ready Rocker is so effective. The rocking motion constantly keeps you active and helps you ease pain, reduces stress. It actually releases endorphins in the brain. It's a mood booster.
I used to be in pain all the time, but with Ready Rocker, I felt relief and I'm in a better mood. I take it everywhere.
I can literally feel the stress being taken off my joints while rocking.
My back stopped hurting, my arthritis felt better. It's just wonderful.
Now you can join the movement that's changing lives and helping thousands find relief. Call now or go online to get 35% off your purchase.